second session about the stakeholder engagement with the Madan Bhandari University of Science and Technology. I'd like to request everyone outside join with us. We are going to start our second session for the stakeholder engagement. Our second session dives deep into the critical role of stakeholders. So without stakeholders, we have the first step towards the world-class university. So to start our session, I would like to request our Professor Sri Ram Krishna for the keynote speech on power of collaboration. The power of stakeholder engagement. Professor Sri Ram Ramakrishna, please welcome, sir. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Well, after such a nice lunch, very hard to keep awake. I have my caffeine, so I will try my best to be very engaging to you. So this is my third speech in a single day. MBUST asked me, it would be nice if you can my thoughts about this very important topic. So building a world-class university, the power of stakeholder engagement. So, I'm always looking at the next generation. All my students at the National University of Singapore, most of them use ChatGPT or DeepSeek or the generative AI. So use the same word, stakeholder engagement. ChatGPT actually gives that one. Ask the question, NUS journey to the top. How did we go up? Who contributed to that? So it says, National University of Singapore has achieved a top global rank, particularly in Asia, through a multifaceted approach, focusing on academic excellence, research, global collaborations. So this is what the ChatGPT says. So now it's amazing that what you can find, any question you ask. But actually, that is not the reality. It's far from the reality. Real reason why news went to the top is what I wanted to explain. So there are three actors here. One is government. Second one is alumni. Number three is diaspora. Important players for any university to be successful. Whether it is a university in USA or the universities now in Far East. I will explain. Government plays a very important role enabling the university to go world class, especially in Singapore. For example, about 25 or 30 years ago, our universities almost functioned like a government department. Every action or every decision we make in the university, it has to go to the Ministry of Education. Even for a promotion from assistant professor to professor, associate professor to full professor, even recruiting someone, it's not automatic. We have to go to the Ministry of Education and the minister has to sign. That was 30 years ago. Then there was a decision made, we should free up the universities from all unnecessary bureaucracy, or you want another term, red tape. So there was a committee that formed by the government. I was member of one of that committee. So after analyzing worldwide universities, key requirements give autonomy to the universities. So Singapore government made the decision to give full autonomy on our finances, on our recruitment, on our promotions, and fundraising, fully given autonomy. So many decisions we could do as a university. So the decision to give autonomy comes from the government, and then so government play a very important. Second one is a preferential funding. So we also have many colleges and universities, including private institutions, also made to give more funding to enhance the global position of our universities. So preferential funding is another important tool the government has, and they could also even provide that impetus to the lending organization, for example, banks, so they could do that. The other one is the higher benchmarks. We went ahead and said we need to globally benchmark rather than benchmark within Singapore, within Asia, because that means you are limiting yourself. The world is a big place, and we need to benchmark worldwide. So benchmark understanding cost, how to run a university, how much it costs, what the top universities in the world, how much are they spending. You could convert that into purchasing power parity basis. You have some numbers. So it's the government which did global benchmarking. So we have advisors from the top universities. They advise the government, and that's what happened. Other one is matching funds. So we understood that time, top universities in the world, they have a lot of endowment. Harvard $20 billion, or MIT $10 billion. Cambridge University close to $10 billion with a lot of endowments. So we said we should do something similar. Again, government, you raise the money, we give you more money. Again, I told the entrepreneurs, philanthropy people, please donate. And they donated. I think, let me see whether I have that. That's back. Okay. Yeah. Nanyang Technological University, our competitor. I'm from NUS. That's the other university. See, they received a $10 million gift just 10 days ago. See, from the local entrepreneurs. But they are encouraged to donate to the university. It's the government, tell them, please donate to this university. So we get a lot of funding, donations, facilitated, promoted, advocated by the government. So again, there's a role for that. And maybe I give another example. Sorry, I need to go back. I was in China before I came here. I was coming directly from China after participating several meetings. So I read in China Daily, it's a university received 1 billion yuan. So if you want, that would be close to $200 million. That's a lot of money. That's donated by the alumni who is behind the battery systems people use. It's one of the large companies. It's alumni who donated 1 billion yuan, right? So my opinion is that MBUST, even though at the in the future, you could aspire to be lots of such resources. We don't quite know how, but it's a question of looking in that direction. You could see that. Donation in China is unheard. I've been going there for 20 plus years now. 20 years ago, nobody donates money to the university in China. It is not the culture. It's a very common culture in USA, right? So things can change. So I go back because I need to still keep the momentum here, the storyline. The government also decided to establish what we call science parks or enterprise on. So they are actually co-located next to the universities. So that's also a role for the government. Other one is global partnerships. I used to be the vice president of our university, and we established a partnership with the top universities in the world. I remember traveling with our deputy prime minister. He actually helps, come on, collaborate. I'm with you. Pick the Stanford University, Berkeley, Cambridge, and several top universities in Israel. That was facilitated by government leaders. We as a university leaders, we also do our part, but we need the support. So that's a strong support for partnerships. R&D investments. You remember I said there's investments help in improving technology as well as innovation capabilities of the country. And if it is the gap between those at the forefront and reaping lots of benefits, others at the other end of the spectrum, gap will be even bigger and bigger. And it's very hard to bridge it. So investments, again, a decision by the government. Conducive policies. Here, what I mean is this comes to the immigration policy. When you want to bring the talent, you have issues with the can stay here, what is their belief systems, spouses, children, and many other things. Tax policies have to be fine-tuned, and government has a role in fine-tuning those policies. Yeah. Other one is long-term strategy and vision. So if there is a roadmap, even though it may not be followed thoroughly, but having a long-term vision itself is. This is where I believe these different aspects. A key stakeholder of the universities is the government. They have a role to play, and I believe a proactive, positive contribution by the government will be a strong stakeholder engagement for the university to progress. So that I wouldn't go. The second key actor is alumni. You remember, he did not identify these people. He just gave some general information. But actually, alumni play a very, very, very important role in as a stakeholder of the university. There are several areas. Probably the best people for donating resources to the university. You remember, I just now, sorry, you can see that's alumni. He's an alumni of Fudan University, donated. Yeah. He's also, I'm sure, even though they donated, their sons and daughters probably studied, and that's why they made a huge donation. Yeah. So endowment is one area alumni can play a huge role. So they are a powerful stakeholder. Other one is engagement. Normally the universities, they are good in what they do, but a lot of players are not very familiar. How the industry is working, how the private sector is working, how is the global environment. This is where alumni can bring their knowledge, insights to the university. And so it is not a small contribution. Other one is employability. I know certain countries, alumni actually helps in creating or recruiting next generation of students, the graduates, because they from the they're very familiar. They actually recruit them, and this is what I've seen in Japan, China, and other countries. So even so, employability is another area where alumni help the university to improve the employability of the graduates, new graduates. The other one is entrepreneurship. Some of the alumni, they went ahead, they became business leaders. They have a lot of experience. But reach a certain age, they want to give back. It's not about them. They have experience. They have the connections. So we have entrepreneurial place where alumni come back and they become mentors for the young. They play a very active role and they don't do for money. They have the expertise, connections, energy, and they and a huge contribution alumni can do entrepreneurship at the universities. The other one is enduring connections. This world, uh, everywhere I have seen, if you want to succeed or you want to get things done, you need the network. No network, you can't progress. No matter who you are. You could be strong, powerful, rich, it doesn't matter. If you don't have connections, your reach, your impact will be much less. Imagine all your ability, you have the network, your impact will be even more, for sure. So alumni play in terms of enduring connections because everybody wants to get with their alma mater. And I've seen the power in IITs. They're very strong networks. Same with the Harvard and other places. So alumni play a very important in enduring connections. Okay, those are the examples. Now, the third important stakeholder is that, and I think for Nepal, MBUST is clearly the diaspora is a huge important. What I understood, one in three Nepalis are outside. So they are a huge diaspora. It's like Greece. I remember in Greece also they have the same situation. Almost one third of outside Greece, even though Greece is a beautiful country. So is Israel. A lot of Israeli people are outside. So diaspora is powerful and important. In what way? So here are the examples. As Singapore, we benefited a lot from the diaspora. So what we call returning talent. Our provost right now, he used to work in Belgium for like 20 years. He worked in IME, which is basically the microprocessor fabrication center. He has 20 years of experience. We have a big microelectronic industry. So he come back, he builds a huge research in our university and he helps. Yeah. So returning talents is extremely important, especially the diaspora has a role to play. Mentoring faculty and students, it means they need not come back, but they have the time, mind share to mentor young faculty and students back home. I do that in many countries. It's possible. They can. They can, if you approach them in the right way, I think they would do that. The other one is connecting with the overseas institutions. It's introductions. They want to build connections. You know nobody there. It's very, but you have your Nepali diaspora somehow doing something there. If they some do the initial groundwork, make the connection, that would help you. So that means the diaspora can play a role in connecting the overseas institutions. Yeah, that's how we did with Silicon Valley. When we established the NUS enterprise, we want to establish an overseas college in Stanford. But the problem is we didn't have a strong connection. But alumni, he's in Stanford business school. So he helped us to get that connection so that our students are accepted. And we, of course, we pay for it, but even to get through that in the door, you need that connection. So connecting with overseas institutions, definitely. The other one is co-authoring. Now it comes to a different topic. Ranking of the university visibility, no matter what we like or not, many of them publications and output. And if you have the right connections and you collaborate properly, publishing is much easier. Otherwise, it's very hard. You may be doing very good work, but the peer review process, the journals may not know you. So they would be more harder on you if you have actually a diaspora who is doing well and they work with you, collaborate with you, you can co-author the papers. Similarly, the patents. If you want to really scale up, exploit the patents, you need the connections in other countries or in countries. All these things comes with the difficulties in how do you share or the credit, how do you share the benefits? All those things need to be negotiated. But the thing is necessary. Then mentoring startup, diaspora can do that. And diaspora, because they're working in that kind of industry or they have more knowledge of a specific domain, they could contribute. The other one is innovation partnerships. For example, you're doing some work here. For you to do all that work that is needed, you may not have the instruments. Even if they may not be the latest. Even if they are the latest, you do not know how to interpret the results. So you need these connections. They can help you. So diaspora comes into the picture. The next one is for example, MBUST students want to go overseas. If you have a diaspora with a little bit kind-hearted, they will figure out where to provide accommodation for you, how to deal with the immigration issues, or so on. And sometimes it's quite difficult. Since I have time, I'll explain. I used to have a good, well, she's still my friend. She's the president of a university. It's a real story. Her daughter used to study at NTU. And one day, I received a phone call from the mother, who is the president of the university. She said, I'm unable to get in touch with my daughter for one. I'm completely, scared. I'm not unable to contact her. And then she said, well, she said she's going to US for some study. And she went to US. My daughter went to US from Singapore. So then what is the problem? She said that's exactly the problem. She's in US. She's not contacted me for 1 week. I don't know what happened to my daughter. The daughter is in New York, I think Princeton University, no, that Columbia University. So then she said, I don't know anybody there. I don't know what to do. So there's already 10 p.m. in Singapore for me. Fine, give me the details. Then I had to call. First, I said, okay, let me try my known people in Columbia University. They said, give us more detail. So I asked the mother, do you have a photo of her? It's unbelievable. She doesn't have a proper photo of the daughter. All the side pose like this, side pose like that. She doesn't have a proper photo. Unbelievable. So I said, oh, we at that time, right? How can you not have one good photo of your daughter? Said, fine, we'll figure it out. So give all the details. Then we call the university, but nobody's replying because work-life balance. No, 10 p.m., maybe, different time. Then I asked my family members. But my family member, she happens to be a girl. She's 35. She said, Uncle, all you can say all you want. I'm not stepping out of the house and searching for that girl. I said, why? It's evening. It's quite late. It's not safe for me to go to a neighborhood I don't even know. She said, how do I go? I can't force just because she's my family member. So finally we tracked her down, and then basically this girl went for a from Columbia University. She wanted to watch the Niagara Falls or something like that. Her battery is dead and she has no way to somehow charge it. So she just didn't bother to switch on her mobile phone. Okay, fine. We tracked her down and finally she came back. The mother is happy. But the truth is, if you don't have such connections, how do you take care of your student? You know, that's where the diaspora comes in. You can leverage them. And then exchange faculty. Again, diaspora, if they have experience, if they're in industry, they can come and show initial understanding. If they are working as a professor somewhere, I'm sure they can also participate. Or they're working in a national labs, they would have a better advanced knowledge. They can contribute. So diaspora has a role for that. And launch pads. So let's say there are startup companies here. You want to take them to the overseas markets. You need launch pads. Again, the diaspora would play a role. Other one is matchmaking. It's not for marriage. It's actually for, for example, you want to do fundraising for your companies, startups, research grants, or you want to apply for international grants. Sometimes you need to know them. I have many students in Singapore University. It's very funny. They never mix with other people. Chinese are one side, all Indians on other side, all the Europeans are one side, and there are subgroups. They never talk to each other. They finish their whatever PhD or postdoc and home. Then after a couple of years, they call me, Professor, our government has an international grant call with this university. Do you know anybody? I said, in our lab, we have a member from there. Why don't you talk to that guy? He said, I never talked to her in the lab. It happened. This guy, recently I was in Thailand. Since I have 3 more minutes, I can tell you this story. So just 3 months ago, I was flying to Thailand. Thailand has another nanotechnology lab. I'm advisor. So I just landed. My former student, his name is Ji Dongxia. He's a professor in Donghua University in Shanghai. He was in my lab. So I landed and he said, I got a message. Professor, there is an international grant call between China and Thailand. Nobody in Thailand. Can you suggest somebody? Of course, he's very fortunate. I just landed. So the guy who received, one of the university there, I said to him, there is a grant call like this. Help us. He said, okay, no problem. I make few phone calls. By the time I went from the airport to the university, he already identified a collaborator. And I told him an email, copied him, copy me, finish it. By the time I finished the Thailand trip, they already submitted the proposal. Yeah. So it's about the connections. It's a network. It's better to connect to know people rather than not knowing people. It doesn't matter whether they're useful or not. Important. So matchmaking is very important. Other one is branding, PR, reputation. I'm advisor to the QS ranking for the last 10 years. So QS ranking depends 50% or 40% on reputation. Same with THE. So reputation means they send the survey and people have to say, yeah, I know this university. Yes, I know this particular department. All that input is aggregated and there is a weightage. That's how the ranking is given. It's relative. So if you do not have good PR, you would be fall behind. So your diaspora, Nepalis, they can talk good about these institutions. The others would hear. Word of mouth. You build a better reputation rather than unknown, right? The other one is supporting opportunities for members. There's lots of things that goes on in the world, but you may not be aware. So diaspora can help in some opportunities for you. So the rest of it, just some evidences. I'll just okay. This is about how do you get a stop citations. I was introduced as I get more than 200,000 citations. That's because it's a way of writing paper. You write a paper as much useful to others. If you can do that, people will quote the paper. So second one is if you work more on new protocols, they will definitely cite. Recently, we wrote one paper, Nature Review. So the other one, I don't want to go into the detail. Let's see. You remember I said about data centers in the Himalayas? See the idea there. Could data centers be built in the orbit? Some US company, they're trying to do that. Why are they trying to build in orbit? Because space is lower and you use the satellites to send information. Because they can see what's going on. They can connect back to what's going on here. They can give you better ideas. Yeah. Then there is about, I was talking to Loshan. He's asking me about intelligence. And I basically said, human intelligence is intelligence, but it's limited. There's a lot more intelligence that's there in the planet Earth itself. So we don't. So when we define generalized artificial intelligence, it is still human. It's a long way to go. So don't worry, even AI becomes most advanced, they cannot be all intelligent. Okay, so then quantum science, this is about wealth creation details. Yeah, this is my last slide. Last week in Guyang, it's one of the province, Guizhou. So I met some of the entrepreneurs, business leaders. You see there, that's one of their rose bark, and they make anti-aging, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. They're selling it. So when I saw many presentation from the students, I was thinking, you need to plug into the global supply chain. That's all. A lot of things. So I hope all these things will help members. Three things: the government, alumni, and diaspora. Important stakeholders for progress of a university. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sriram. Yes, obviously, definitely. Alumni are best stakeholders for getting support. All the philanthropic donors out there, I would once again like to request you to donate to our endowment fund so that we can help with that. Now, moving on to our another session for building a world-class university, the power of stakeholder engagement. We'll have a panel discussion now. And firstly, I would like to invite the moderator for this session, Mr. Pratik Pradhan. He is an alumni of our university, former advisor to the Prime Minister of Nepal, editor-in-chief Barak Hari, former editor-in-chief of the Nagarik Dainik and Karobar Dainik. Sir, I'd like to request you to take your seat. Now, I would like to invite our panelist for the session, Mr. Bhandari, trustee and former auditor general on the role of bureaucracy and institutional governance. Professor Govindaraj Pokhrel, former vice chairperson of National Planning Commission on mobilizing broader stakeholder support to realize university's full potential. Dr. Rajendra Joshi, President, MBUST, on stakeholders' role in building a world-class university. Professor Dr. Sangeeta Singh, Trustee, MBUST, former member of National Planning Commission on collaboration between MBUST and other universities. This process bring together key thought leaders and decision makers, including members of our board, to explore how various institutional actors can collaboratively contribute to the development of MBUST as a world-class university. The discussion will be enriched by the insight of our panelists, and I would like to hand over the floor to our moderator, Mr. Pratik Pradhan. Sir, floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are listening me. I'm really pleased with this session on building a world-class university, the power of stakeholder engagements. And we have a very enlightened, erudite, our panelists, and our MC has already explained who they are and how they are well credited. To begin with, this is the Madan Bhandari University of Science has been a serious undertaking by President Professor Rajendra Dhodji sir. So I would like to start with you. You have taken the reign of the university, and then it is a map, I would say. And when you start building this, you have gone through many problems, and then now you want to build this into a world-class university. What, in your opinion, who are the, because yours being a very new university, who are the stakeholders and how are you engaging those stakeholders? If you could explain that.
Thank you, Pratik. I would like.
No, my question is to the Professor Rajendra Dhodji. Your mic is on, I believe. Before that.
It's very interesting question. Who are stakeholders? Practically, I would say all Nepalese and beyond, because the university can make impact not only in the country, but beyond the country. Now, when we started the adventure, I already knew that if we think that stakeholders of universities are students and teachers, you are not going to make headway. So to share the idea of this university, the vision of world-class university, and the mission of building prosperous and just Nepal, I had to enlarge the stakeholder dimension to the whole country. So the day I was able to actually convince people that it is not about university, actually about the country, contributing to prosperity of Nepal directly, then we started moving. So who are stakeholders? Practically everyone in Nepal and beyond are stakeholders. This question, what can grab them, that's different matter. But stakeholders are unlimited.
But how are you engaging with the stakeholders that Professor Ramkrishnan just said? The stakeholders are the government, they are the diaspora, and one alumni. You don't have many alumni, so I missed the
We don't
point.
have alumni, that's right. But getting Madan Bhandari University of Science, if I didn't talk with stakeholders, that would have been impossible. Because literally in our parliamentary, all political parties. And universities, we thought that this university is not needed because we already have many universities. I spent almost 7 years convincing, talking to stakeholders. That's how I accepted that. This is the new idea. This is not going to displace, substitute anyone. It's in the interest of country. So how did I? It's basically explaining that it's not for me, it's for. So I perhaps have made thousands of presentations of my slides, With anyone I meet, I start presenting. That's how I put my paper.
Thank you. I'll come back to you again. Now I'll start with Mr. Bhanu Acharya. Trustee is also from Auditor General. And my question to you, sir, is since you have been with the government, you also became the secretary of the government and retired, became Auditor General after that. How does the government see about such universities? What is the attitude of the government? And how do we engage? How do we extract from the government coffer something in the noble cause of something like this? How do you see it?
You know, politics is the master of all the policies. Then you are aware that we are instability and the transitions last few decades. Once you have the stable government, that kind of stability when diminishes, then you can have such long-term policy decisions. Since in last year when the MBUST Act was passed, that shows that there is some kind of commitment from the government, from the state, such a university, the need of the hour or time. Then Act gives autonomy as well as resources. Even from the perspective of democracy, I must mention that kind of objective, that cannot be, that that is not.
I believe हामी नेपालीमा नेपालीमा एक्सप्लेन गर्नु अझै बुझ्न सकिन्छ कि
मलाई के लाग्छ भने मलाई नेपालीमै अझ बढी सजिलो लाग्छ अङ्ग्रेजी भन्दा
I hope Professor Ramakrishnan would and others would bear with us when we speak in Nepali, but it is easier for us sometimes to explain ourselves. And it's
पहिलो मैले भन्न खोजेको के हो भने जब तपाईँ राजनीति सबै नीतिको गुरु मानिन्छ राजनीति ठिक राजनीतिले निर्देशित गरेपछि गाली गर्यो नजान्नु होला त्यसपछि मुलुकले अरू सबै क्षेत्रमा गति लिन्छ ट्रान्सफर्मेसनमा या प्रगतिमा ग्रोथमा इनोभेसनमा सबै क्षेत्रमा चाहिँ गति लिन्छ अब यहाँ हामीले भोगेको कुरा के हो भने हेर्नुस् कति दशकको कुरा गर्नुस् न दशकौंदेखि हामी यो खालको रिजाइन चेन्ज हैन गभर्नमेन्ट कुराहरू भोगिरहेछौँ त्यसको बावजुद पनि जब 79 सालमा यो युनिभर्सिटीको एक्ट आयो त्यो एक्टले के देखायो भने सरकार चाहिँ अब त्यो यो पार्टीको र ऊ पार्टीको यो सरकार अथवा स्टेट इट्सेल्फ किन पार्लियामेन्टले एक्ट बनाउने हो गभर्नमेन्टसँग मात्रै सीमित छैन स्टेट चाहिँ यो खालको वर्ल्ड क्लास युनिभर्सिटी बनाउनको लागि तयार छ अथवा त्यसमा अगाडि तयार छ भनेर जब अटोनोमस संस्था युनिभर्सिटी चाहिँ बनायो ऐन अनुसार त्यस अनुसार यी सब काम अगाडि बढे त्यसले चाहिँ एउटा भविष्यको आशा चाहिँ देखा तर अब हुन्छ के भने म अलिकति ब्युरोक्रेसीबाट आएको नाताले ब्युरोक्रेटिक रोल यो स्टेट गभर्नमेन्ट पनि यो गभर्नमेन्ट भनेको पर्मानेन्ट काम गर्ने ब्युरोक्रेसी भएको नाताले ब्युरोक्रेसीमा जुन किसिमको भूमिका हुन्छ फेरि मैले लगेर गाँसे चाहिँ इन्स्टेबिलिटी र ट्रान्जिसनमा त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो लगायत युनिभर्सिटीको काम कारबाही लगायत अरू किसिमको नीतिहरूको इम्प्लिमेन्ट जुन भूमिका खेल्नुपर्ने ब्युरोक्रेसीले त्यसमा केही धीमापन चाहिँ आएको पक्कै छ। त्यो भनेको के हो भने यो मदन भण्डारी युनिभर्सिटीको काम कारबाहीको सन्दर्भमा पनि अहिले जुन प्रगति 2 वर्षमा प्रगति देखिएको छ, फिजिकल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरको प्रगति अथवा त्यहाँको लिडरसिपले लिएको कामहरू, फ्याकल्टी मेम्बरहरू, विद्यार्थीहरू सबैले संयुक्त रूपमा जुन रूपमा चाहिँ अगाडि बढ्नु भएको छ त्यो राम्रो चम्किलो किसिमले तर अब यही रूपमा यदि हामी अगाडि बढ्ने हो भनेदेखि जुन हामी वर्ल्ड क्लास युनिभर्सिटीको कुरा गरिरहेछौँ, वर्ल्ड क्लास युनिभर्सिटीको कुरा हामीले मिसन र भिजन कुराहरूको सन्दर्भमा त्यति सहज छैन। यो अलि टाढै छ हो भनेर भन्न सकिन्छ, 2 वर्ष मात्रै हो भन्न सकिन्छ। म पनि 2 वर्षदेखि त्यहाँ एज ए बिओटी ट्रस्टी मेम्बरको रूपमा म काम गरिरहेको छु। अहिलेको जुन काम भएको छ त्यो सन्तोषपूर्ण छ। तर अब यही गतिमा हामी गएर जुन हामीले हाम्रो मिसन र हाम्रो अब्जेक्टिभ पुरा गर्न सक्छौँ त, यो प्रश्न चाहिँ बहुत कठिन छ। त्यसैले जति स्टेक होल्डरहरूको इन्गेजमेन्ट, जति स्टेक होल्डरहरूको सपोर्ट आवश्यक हुने हो, त्यो आवश्यकतामा ब्युरोक्रेसीको रोल पनि गभर्मेन्ट भनौँ ब्युरोक्रेसीको रोल पनि त्यत्तिकै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। त्यो महत्त्वपूर्ण रोलमा अब ब्युरोक्रेसीको विभिन्न सङ्गठनको
I'll come back to you again. I think you have made a point on my question. I'll come back to you again. Actually, Sangeeta madam, you have been a trustee with MBUST, and then you are also a professor with Institute of Engineering in Pulchok. I learned that you have been assisting Madan Bhandari University in other universities all over the world. So what have been your experiences and how are they treating MBUST, and what do you think should do further in engaging other universities with us? What do you think?
Much for the questions, and thank you for having me in the first place. I think having a world-class university is all about development. Let's say, university which is the top in the nation, but not yet world-class. So I'm still learning what makes a world-class university. So we are all concerned about development. Development, it has to do with economic welfare, societal benefit, with ecological, sustainability. We need to change to adapting conditions of the world. It's the age of globalization. 21st century, and societies have been driven by in the first place. We started with agriculture societies, and then we went on to industrialization. Now we are in the age of AI. We already know what are the consequences of industrialization. Now we are in the age of AI. We are enjoying the benefits of it. The negative impacts we are yet to see. So it has always been that innovation is driving the society, and what drives innovation is universities. So it's very essential in the age of knowledge, where knowledge is power nowadays instead of other things, because it's the knowledge that drives economy and makes it so many-fold nowadays. So, all the concepts are changing. So the change needs innovation, needs research, and that is where the university comes in. And universities can play a very crucial role in sort of contributing to knowledge creation in the first place, technological advancement, and so on. It can be an economic driver by means of giving input to the industry, new research, and so on. It can be a cause for transformation. It can also hold environmental stewardship to a certain extent. Of course, policy support and system is another area where universities can intervene. And I think from the experience that I've had with working with MBUST, I have seen all of these areas being targeted, at least. It is being aimed that, the universities will be linked with economic. It will bring changes in the society. It will also tackle the environmental issues that are there, work with the communities, work globally, get acquainted with whatever is happening on a global, and then scale it down to the local economy as well. So that has always been the objective of MBUST, I think. And it has always aimed for strategic partnership with the industries. We also saw the MOUs that, and it is actually also taking place on ground. I think the teaching pedagogy is also very, very innovative in the sense that it is towards research-based, project-based teaching pedagogy, unlike the conventional systems where we have lectures and so on. I was visiting MBUST day before yesterday, and it was very encouraging. The faculty and the students staying together and doing and learning a lot from this innovative pedagogy that was going on over there. I think what is also important is the innovative infrastructure in place, and it is already over there. And of course, faculty with global expertise. So this is where the collaboration with other universities also come in. I think there's a heavy emphasis on having faculty have global exposures and that are very well acquainted with the global practice. And they have been on board at MBUST and trying to create a conducive environment in terms of research as well as other intervention. I think one of the most convincing factor for the MBUST is the institutional autonomy that is there. So it's very so I time and again compare it with my own institution, where because of the lack of autonomy, there are so many issues that are there, which being a member of board of trustees, it's very easy in a way to the course and then do whatever is required. I think it's a very engaging environment already, and I think there's global exposure and there's attempt moving in that direction. But what MBUST should still do would be, I think, as Professor Siram already mentioned, have better linkages with the government, with the alumni, as well as one of the other areas that you mentioned, the diaspora. Yes. I already saw some amount of interest created in the diaspora because I was somewhere in the audience. There's one person there who is also contribute to MBUST, and he's closely watching what is happening over here. It's good enough for him to get engaged in future. So I think that is a very interesting and important area. And also I think it's very important to showcase the early successes. We did that today also to a certain extent. I must say that it was very interesting to hear about the ongoing research areas of the students. This is never done in, it's not so much emphasized, but I think showcasing whatever is being done is also very important, and being a part of the global network, good faculty and students is still a, but I think we are in the right direction.
Thank you. Let's keep it on the throat. Now I'll go to Dr. has spoken. We've been friends for quite some time. And when I was with the Prime Minister as an advisor, he was GC of National Planning Commission. So you had the idea of how makes plans, how government executes plan, and who convinces surgical method. How do you think those plans? So how do MBUST come up and convinces which are the places where the embassy should be going, with what kind of move to convince the government to come further in favor of embassy and the institution like this.
So thank you for your question, and also thank you for University of Science and Technology for inviting me here. I think as you raise, there are many issues in our development process. When we see that Nepalese government on the average invests around 4 rupees 77 paisa to, so if you see input and output ratio, it's a huge gap. So that what we call it like allocative efficiency is very low. The government allocates funds, but there are no impacts and outputs as expected. There are many issues, technical issues, non-technical issues, bureaucratic issues, and policy issues. Being a University of Science and Technology, this university can collaborate with government to resolve technical issues. I can give you some example, like in Harvard, in one of the very important products available in Nepal, are being transported in to the border or beyond the border in trucks. But we can process that organ and extract some sort of liquid from that and reduce the transportation cost. And that has been, because it has been like many years we are talking and we are planning that way. Even in development projects, there are many technical issues in case of designing bridges. So these are really not resolved by, still I say, many institutions in Nepal. There is a gap between planning and implementation. And those issues are mainly related, and different aspects are there, social issues and conflict, but the technical issues are also there. Like 5 years before our prime minister in Nepal entered into the tunnel era. But when they wanted to build a tunnel, there are no engineers who can design tunnel, especially football to Palpa route. So they had to, people came from army or from Department of Road, or no consultants were there. So there are many gaps in planning and implementation, and many technical gaps. And university can at least demonstrate that we have expertise, we can support the government at least to reduce the this cost of production. Whether it's a service or product, cost of production is very high. We are not being competitive in the market, despite having a comparative advantage in tourism, in agriculture, energy, mining. It's because of the lack of new and modern and cost-effective and technical processes. We are not being able to deliver the result as expected. So I think that is what university can have. Like these are the issues that government is currently, and university is here to resolve those issues. Like I can give you another example. When we had an earthquake in 2015, many people, they just started to build cement and concrete structure. We didn't have ready-made, like convincing solution to use and more mortar building. There are many designs, but you need to convince the people, because it's user-friendly and technology has to be adopted by the general mass. And I will not show you examples, but samples were not able to convince local people, and everybody adopted cement and concrete technology, despite having beautiful stones and other architect what we had. So university, that's why they need to find the gap what government plans. And from the government side, it was while allocating fund, at least we can think of resource activities with universities. And university can also, I mean, when they design their curricula or their syllabus, they should think about the university in Singapore or USA, at least see the what sort of government is facing. Because we have huge gap there. We always try to have a best syllabus or best curricula that you can sell in the other part of it. But when you come back to the like public service commission and the private sector of they are actually not getting right people in the market because the syllabus is totally, oriented towards the West or other countries or a global market, not for the local market. So there also, every university and government can design such types of syllabus so that students after graduating here, they can actually work here very easily. And another is like government can also facilitate. I can give you an example, like when we're trying to have a PDA, when we sign Arun Third and Fast Track, and there is no people who can actually define properly. We requested the government institution to send the joint secretaries from our ministry, Ministry of Infrastructure. So nobody was confident that this design is good or this contract agreement is perfect. So they hire someone from New York paying per day like $12,000, $10,000. Because we have good lawyers, we have good engineers, but how they can be fitted into our context technically. It's a good job. And government has also realized at least university can come with these types of idea then so that government can support universities. Second is like as Professor Ramakrishna already highlighted, government can also facilitate to have a partnership. Like when we were designing our heritage here, because many people are here from heritage areas, and that we were getting support from India. So they wanted to have that also there. So we had some sort of collaboration things, so that the government facilitates to have some sort of collaboration with other universities who are interested in these types of areas. So that type of job also government can handle. Similarly, money funding coming, like some people want to have a core resource like university does. But normally that is not known in the Ministry of Finance. So another example I can give you, this is a Tripura Sundari temple in sorry, that was built in the Rana Bahadur Shah's time. So Kathmandu University wanted to do that building, but there is no funds available. And government wanted to help to, to help you to, or to some sort of retrofitting these types of old heritage. So then government we facilitated to have that funding to the university so that they, at least partly they build that one. So that's a and government had government. It's very hard to do things, but at least to be proactive, university has to be proactive to find because it's a technical university that affect the gap in government's planning and the implement. How can you influence the government in terms of planning process so that the universities are recognized? I mean, their role is recognized by the government. I mean, that is what we need to do in Nepalese culture. I mean, you just giving you a gist, designing curricula, syllabus, finding the gaps in development process, especially technical aspect. And if you have a collaboration with other universities in between, so that in future also they know that there is a Madan who can do these types of jobs. So these are the things that university be proactive, find the issues, work with the government. And convince to be part of the development process.
Oh, thank you very much. It's called last but not the least. But out here we have last but the best. So I come to Dr. Professor Sriram Ramakrishnan. You have already said that you have spoken, you have taken the stage 3 times today on itself. But still, I might be having some questions for you. Nepal is an underdeveloped country. And maybe 50 years ago or 60 years ago, maybe we were parallel to Singapore. Yeah. But we are not now. So looking at the problems or our, workstations, how do you see MBUST? But or even in a math questions, you can see, you can explain or you can suggest to the government how can we use our geopolitics, our geoeconomics, and our current, how could we utilize that? And before going that, I would also like you to explain what are our existing in Nepal in terms of promoting education like this or institutions like this. So these are my few questions. I hope I didn't confuse you.
No, thank you, Pratik. Uh, I will not speak too much because time is limited and respect other panel members. They should have more time to speak. But you put me on the spot and want to, you've given me even a bigger platform in terms of the question. Let me focus more on politics. I'm not a public policy researcher. I'm a pure nanotechnology materials scientist. But still, pay attention to geopolitics because for impactful scientific research innovation, one ought to pay attention to, as Govindra said, governments have other institutions, we must pay attention. I would explain my view about the geopolitics, relevance numbers.
Yeah.
Before that, I want to say it was an extraordinary effort. Even thinking about it and trying to build a world-class university. I have been traveling all the 5 continents. I have visited hundreds of universities at the different stages of their development. Nowhere I have seen such a difficult as MBUST. It's true. I'm saying because it's really extraordinary effort. And I wouldn't go into the detail, but you can believe me, I truly think very most challenging. And all the stakeholders that are involved, I have a deep respect what you're trying to do. And this is what I want to say first. Now the question, in your extraordinary journey, how do you succeed? One way is to read the geopolitics more deeply, clearly, and take a view. And here's my view. The last 100 years, definitely, the world is much different compared to previous 3,000 years. Last 100 years, clearly, there's a lot of change, in a way pushed by the Europe, followed the US. But more recently, it's very clear that China is an important to the Western bloc. There is this question among the policymakers in Singapore, how long this tension between US would last? I thought they will give an answer of 5 years, 10 years. But our political masters, I won't name them, they said it could be forever. Then I asked them, what makes you to say that? He said, go back to the Vietnam War time. At that time, that was very weak. But Mao said, we'll go for it. So I tend to understand somehow a cultural element. I won't give up. No matter what. If we think that is going to continue, that kind of cultural ethos, that means this tension on science and technology, the science and technology-led innovation, growth, and superiority is bound to be there. So that's going to be an important, at least for the next 30, 40 years. Even though university, that's going to be there forever, because university where I studied, Cambridge University, is around, so is many other universities. So even though universities last that long, but the leaders or the current generation not last that long. It's a matter of finite time. So we take that view. In next, my sense is US and China would be strongly competing, followed by India is coming up. The is situated between two important nations in the world. And then you have the US there, three. And what are they going to compete? Science and technology. What are they going to compete? Is about trade. What they compete is on influence. And that's where you play a very important role. So MBUST could read this very well and raise support, resources from the support of the government. Second, build the technology partnerships. Third, exchange of students, faculty members. And even more important is if Nepal becomes more progressive, national security will be an issue. The question is, do you have an organization, high-level brains, solutions for national security? And MBUST recruits all the faculty members are PhD and exposed to the most best world. Perhaps MBUST could be providing views, thoughts, and maybe technologies that helps the national security. It's beyond just military. It's much more than that. I'm familiar with the landscape, so I can only say from a distance which are the angles MBUST can position itself. It's a small university. It's not a big university. Even if it grows, it cannot be a huge university. That means it's only a few areas with the critics it can play a role. That means it would be several few areas. It can play a very important role. So one could be that area, the other could be technology. More important, I believe, is the low altitude transportation. And Nepal is very well situated for that, to exploit low altitude transportation. Similarly, artificial intelligence that require data centers, Nepal. Similarly, hydrogen economy, again, is a question of getting that into the global new architecture of energy. So I think there's lots of such areas. And we discuss thoroughly, eventually find the critical mass of faculty members and get the support within Nepal and outside Nepal, and keep pushing the limits.
Okay. And before I go to Dr. Tojisi again, I want to share one thing. Like Dr. Bhagwan Koirala, he has started one hospital. It is called Kathmandu Institute of Child Health Care. And he was money, and we were also in several meetings with him. Suddenly, he has found one philanthropist, who is Minabhadur Guru, the owner of departmental store Bhat Bhatini. He has donated 600 million rupees for that hospital, and that hospital is very fast. So my question to Dr. Joshi is, why something like that is not happening in the place of another issue for the society, that is education? And I would also like how the philanthropists have approached you, how many of them have approached you, what have been your experiences with them, and how do you want to go ahead what are in bringing this kind of support?
I have to admit that we may not have tried as much before saying anything, not justifying what I say. But the difference is funding for charity is different from funding a university. charity is cause which is near to everyone. Does not have money for anything. Someone is sick, especially when they go to science hospitals. So supporting science hospitals is a lot more applicable. When you talk about university, what are we going to fund? Go to classes or perpetuate events. So the image of universities are not very good in Nepal. Then it's a public institution. Why on earth you have to support a public institution? Credibility. So because of that, we have to prove that we have. Now we are just less than 2 years old. We are trying to prove, but we are not there yet. As I have said at the beginning itself, we have been thinking about, but we have not reached there quite yet. So I think it should be possible to get funding. The reason I am very confident I started this endeavor to go a little bit back. When I was passing this act, then people kept asking me, where we are not, probably we will not be in position to bring money. That's why government initially said that we will get money from ADB which didn't come, then started saying that we from China didn't come. Then I said to the government, just give me at nothing else, without any government money. So we are betting on government. Government has been generous. I cannot probably say no, but generosity of governments is not enough. But the strong belief I have that we will be able to generate philanthropic donations. We are doing something for the country. The examples you have already brought here. We were at par with Korea, we were at par with India some 70, 80 years ago. We are not different. But with China, we are in order of magnitude lagging behind. We are the least developed, least rich among those countries. It happened because we didn't bother about it. So I am taking heed for whatever happening. I cannot escape by blaming politicians that we became poor. So it's a duty for every Nepali to stop their dignity. When I start giving this sort of lecture, including parliament, they get convinced that we need to build a university in Nepal which can uplift Nepal. So, because the reason I said everyone is stakeholder, if you talk about development, that's impossible without building a good university. If I can accept these measures, we should be able to raise funding. Now, I think as a public institution, actually, we have raised 1 crore 25 lakhs. Today, it's 1 crore 30 lakhs already raised. 360 individuals. We have not gone as yet funding donors, but bit and bit we are moving in direction. And one of the main reasons why we organize this seminar is conference is actually trying to mobilize resources for the university. And before asking to establish your credibility, this process of establishing credibility where we are, the strongest credibility we have at this stage is when we say that we are absolutely uncorrupt. You cannot give it. I have not seen any public agency person absolutely free of corruption. That credibility we have established. We are absolutely independent of partisan politics. We have established. So because of those achievements, which I highlighted at the beginning, we should be able to raise funds, but we have to launch. Next session where exactly our Minister of Education of Pakistan will be teaching us how to cultivate donors.
Good. We have Mr. Mahesh Kumar Bastola, he's a member of parliament and also CPN UML. I had one very crucial question for him, so I will ask that to Dr. Joshi again. I had just visited a week back, and the road is so terrible, and no car can drive up to your university. And it has been like 2-3 years since you have established it. And I believe even for the teachers, professors, it's difficult to reach there every day. So what is government looking at? What has been, how long will it take, at least for the people to smoothly ride up to your university? And that had been my question for Mr. Bartola, but since he is not here, I am asking you this question.
Perhaps I may be able to do justice to that question. I started traveling to Chittagong 10 years. There is some progress. It used to be single lane road. Now it's double lane already, but it's not black topped. There is also in terms of allocation of funds, the money which has been allocated will enable to blacktop 3/4 of the remaining road. So there is progress. But the next step is the handling contracts is very difficult in Nepal. If you ask how long it takes, it's very difficult to answer because the Paisi party Nagpur road took 7 years. It's plainly here, that's right. But people say because of the pressure of the university, people are taking it a bit seriously. When I started, we traveled to university, they're using cable car. University in the world, students were shot by cable car. It took some imagination of autocrats as well. So how long it will take? Very difficult to say. But with our effort and with support from this, that should be built. But I would like to once again commend our students as well, our faculty members who didn't bother about these difficulties still travel there. If you have commitment, you can get there. I'm basically saying, if you are Nepali, that road should not be a problem for you because Nepalese are enduring much more difficult roads in Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you. We go back to Shubhanu Acharya, sir. Mentioned that you are completing your tenure with MBUST very soon. So what has been your experience with MBUST? And then what you be doing in building itself as a world-class university?
धन्यवाद म सजिलो नेपालीमा लाग्ने बनाएर नेपालीमै म कुरा गरौँ के हो भने म अलिकति फेरि ब्युरोक्रेटिक रुलको बारेमा दुई तीनटा कुरा स्पष्ट गर्न चाहन्छु एउटा एक्सटर्नल इन्टर्नल एक्सटर्नल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट न ब्युरोक्रेसी मात्रै होइन कि इन्भाइरोमेन्ट एक्सटर्नल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट इन्टर्नल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट जहाँसम्म अहिलेसम्मको अहिले 2 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि काम गरेको सम्बन्धमा मेरो अनुभव के छ भने पोलिसी लेभलमा एक्सटर्नल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट अथवा वातावरण ब्युरोक्रेसी ठिकै हिसाबसँग गइरहेको छ जहाँसम्म इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनको कुरा छ इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनको कुरामा इन्टर्नल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट अब एक दुईटा केही कुराहरू जस्तो सडकको कुराहरू अथवा त्यस्तो केही कुराहरूमा बाहेक सामान्यतः इन जनरल त्यस्तो ठुलो हर्डल अथवा त्यस्तो किसिमको समस्या छैन गाउँमा एक दुईटा विशेष कुरा के छ भनेदेखि जुन ऐनको व्यवस्था र ऐनको व्यवस्थाबाट बोर्ड अफ ट्रस्टी ऐन नियम विधि विधान लेजिस्लेसनका कुराहरू छन् त्यो बनाउँदाखेरि जहाँ अब सबै बोर्ड अफ ट्रस्टीको धेरैको इन्भल्भमेन्ट पनि थियो त्यो बनाउँदाखेरि के भने त्यसको अटोनोमीलाई बचाएर अगाडि बढ्ने हिसाबले नियम विधिहरू बन्यो त्यो बन्दाखेरि सायद फङ्सनिङमा सजिलो पनि भयो होला र लिडरसिपमाथि एकाउन्टेबिलिटीको या गभर्नेन्सको इस्युहरूमा त्यस्तो अब एडमिनिस्ट्रेसनमा साना ठुला कुराहरू प्रश्नहरू उठ्छन् त्यो उठ्ने भनेको अहिले तत्कालै ब्युरोक्रेसीबाट त्यस साथै केही कुराहरूमा इस्युजहरू आउने अथवा के प्रश्नहरू उठ्ने अस्वाभाविक होइन त्यो तपाईँ जुनसुकै संस्थामा पनि हुन्छ तर के भने मेजर इस्युमा त्यस्तो समस्याहरू देखिँदैन जहाँसम्म र अब कार्यान्वयन तहमा तैँले केही कुराहरू सन्तुष्ट पार्न नसकेको कुराहरूमा हुन सक्छ जहाँसम्म 2 वर्षको मेरो अनुभवको कुरा तैँले बस्नु त मलाई थप अरू बस पनि भन्नुभएको थियो मेरो आफ्नो शारीरिक बस्न सक्दिनँ भनेर मैले उहाँहरूलाई नै रिक्वेस्ट गरेँ त त्यो अहिलेसम्मको अनुभवमा युनिभर्सिटी सुरु भएको थियो अहिलेसम्मको प्रगति हेर्दा असन्तुष्ट हुनुपर्ने कुनै कारण छैन र अहिले जसरी फ्याकल्टी मेम्बर भन्नुहोस् प्रेसिडेन्ट भन्नुहोस् त्यो काउन्सिल या जति चाहिँ फ्याकल्टीका अरू एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिभ हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूले गर्नुभएको काम एकदम सराहनीय छ अब यस्तो डिफिकल्ट जस्तो बाटोको डिफिकल्टी यो कुराहरू ती कुराहरूलाई झेलेर विद्यार्थीहरूको सहयोग एउटा अर्को इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुरा यसमा यो युनिभर्सिटीमा मैले के पाएको के हो भनेदेखि सङ्ख्यात्मक हिसाबले सानो छ विद्यार्थीहरू पनि थोरै हुनुहुन्छ 34 जना भनेर आएछ होइन अब त्यो भए पनि पोलिटिकल्ली हस्तक्षेप इन्टरफेरेन्स या चाहिँ त्यो किसिमको कुरा चाहिँ यो युनिभर्सिटी भित्र चाहे त्यो विद्यार्थी तहमा होस् चाहे एडमिनिस्ट्रेसनमा होस् चाहे फ्याकल्टीमा होस् चाहे कुनै लेभलमा पनि आएको छैन एउटा यो राम्रो बाटो अहिलेसम्मको मैले बोलेको कुरा र जुनसुकै कुराको डेलिभरेसनमा पनि यता कता अब ब्युरोक्रेसी र अरू युनिभर्सिटी कन्फ्लिक्ट अफ इन्ट्रेस्ट हुन्छ सर्टेन कुरामा त्यो कन्फ्लिक्ट अफ ब्युरोक्रेसीलाई उसको अर्को लेजिस्लेसनले चाहिँ अधिकार अथवा रेखदेख गर्ने सुपरभिजन गर्ने मोनिटरिङ गर्ने अर्को लेजिस्लेटिभ इन्ट्रेस्ट हुन्छ व्यक्तिगत होइन हो त्यस्तो लेजिस्लेटिभ आधारमा उसको चाहिँ नि त्यहाँ अलिकति साइलेन्ट हुने या डेलिभरेसनमा भाग नलिने यस्तो बाहेक अपवाद बाहेक युनिभर्सिटीको अहिलेसम्मको जो भित्रको वातावरण चाहिँ मैले राम्रो
running out of time. So I will quickly go to Dr. Sangeeta Singh. You've been associated with both the universities, the best and the newest. So what have been your experiences with both? Comparing issues with our resources, technology and leadership and all. And what do you suggest for MBUST?
Yeah, I think what I see in MBUST is it has been driven by a very strong leadership, and it has sort of gone around that, and the challenge is whether this will be sustainable in the long term, whether we are preparing for the new generation to follow the same trends. Because coming from the conventional universities, I've seen a lot of challenges regarding achieving quality education, quality research, and so on. So the major challenge is MBUST that I fear and that I see is in the leadership currently. This has been very strongly driven by Professor Rajendra Joshi, if I may say very frankly. But I look for new faces that, search for who are the other eligible people that would help him. And that is where my fear is evident, because, I know about the challenges that surround an institution. That is one of the areas. Another area which is regarding the accreditation. And, for example, we are conducting, I can share my own experience in the Institute of Engineering, the master's program, and it was called MSc in Energy Sustainable Social Development. An engineering institution coming up with a course which was called Energy for Sustainable Social Development. So this was in collaboration with the Norwegian Institute Engineering. It was called NTNU and our institute collaboration. So for 5 years, this went on very successfully. But when our products went into the market, challenges, they were questioned, are you an engineer? or a social scientist or an energy expert. So the multidisciplinary courses, when we introduce challenges in the market, unless of course, if you are an innovator, if you're an entrepreneur, then it doesn't matter. But if you are looking for placement in government jobs or any other related industries, you have a. So we are coming up with, for example, masters in forest biomaterials and in the government sector. Organic agriculture, where does this fall? So this is a big question that I think we need to tackle when we go on. Another issue which becomes important is also with regard to patents. It's very, very difficult going through the government channel to achieve patents, and it is a very difficult process. So this is also one of the areas, also with regard to, and also in collaborating with other universities, they are always concerned regarding sustainability, the effort that they put into, and most of the time, what they are looking for is sustainability of whatever collaboration they have been having. For example, if you are doing some kind of research, whether you are sort of influence policy, or whether you are able to, for example, we built in the course, but it was not sustainable. So that part is always there, and there's lack of government realization of the need of collaboration between the academic institutions and government. That part is, it's always, I've seen that in the government sector, everybody is thinking about having their own research unit. For example, the Ministry of Urban Development, they want to do their own research, have a there and do their research. Everybody is looking after that instead of collaborating with the academia where there's abundance of research. So this part is a major challenge. There are some.
Don't have much time.
Is of course a problem also, and of course, most of the time there are some restrictive policies regarding visas. Also, we face a lot of problems when from abroad were coming over here and they were teaching. We had to go through exercises of attending visas and all these things. So these might come up as a bit of challenge, but I think there are a lot of scopes.
Let me go to Dr. Govindaraj Pokhrel. He is a former vice chairperson. He is also a politician. So, Dr. Pokhrel, how do you convince the political leaders, even your leaders and your collaborators, other leaders, about the major stakeholders or the institutions? How do you convince them? Quickly, please. And first, I will let's say two things. What is the demand in the market and what this university can offer? And the mission of this university, because we have Kathmandu University, Institute of Engineering, many universities are there. So what extra value addition this university can bring? What that value addition address the demand of the market? Market like Gen Z, young generation. My question is, do you think our leaders are capable enough to understand the importance of? There are two things like what leaders want. One is aspiration of new generation, because I don't call it brain drain, brain feel, because they want to feel their brain not here. So how can we address their demand? Because this is challenging for politicians. So whether this university can address that challenge somewhere else. Second is productivity, because investing or investing is not doing any sort of, output. As you see, because our capital expenditure is very small now, recurrent expenditure is going up. So how can we optimize the government resources by addressing those productivity issue? So these are the two politicians. If you manage to address these two concerns, I think politicians are not that difficult to convince because they want something new output in the market. Another thing what university can do is, for just to suggest, Sandwich program, because that will address the young generation's demand. Because whether you are going to Norway or USA or Germany, so if you have a program at least they can have that study also here. That there is a system in between Germany and Denmark, double degree. So you study half of the time here and or half of the time here, or you take some module and you will be getting 2 degrees from 2 universities at the same subject. In that way also, like if you have a double degree from 2 universities, same degree, and that will also address the demand of it, and which will be very good for the politicians. And that's why first you build what is the specialty that university can offer, and what is the gap in the market, and you say, okay, I have this value addition. By doing this university, supporting this university to build road, library, to build research lab, to provide research grants.
Thank you.
The other one is just one is, I think there is a less collaboration between in private sector. Institute of Engineering, Kathmandu University is very less. Biogas, this tuk-tuk public transport vehicle. And his is the issue there. He always runs and goes to Lucknow or India. Biogas. And I asked him, why don't you cooperate with universities? He said, no, they are always busy in exam and semester exam. They're core areas. Less collaboration with private sector. You just, rather than coming with your ideas and find their issues, and in that way, then they will cooperate with you. So that's what I think. If we address the issue of private sector, issue of young generation, and issue of productivity.
Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't come back to Dr. Ramakrishnan. I'm so sorry. And it is said that our journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. But for the MBUST, this might be the first step. And when the next time we'll be meeting program, maybe we'll be talking about the collection of billions of dollars for the university, and we'll be talking about the next level. Thank you all the panelists, erudite panelists. I'm thankful to you. And with this, I hand over the mic to. And I'm sorry. There is Q&A session as well. So if there are questions for everybody, please introduce yourself and point the question to whomever you want to ask the question.
Please. We have 10 minutes for question and answer round.
My name is Torben Jessen. I'm from the tiny country of Denmark in Europe, and I was very inspired by Professor Shiram's presentations. But what causes now not a question, but a comment to your presentation here about geopolitics, where you talked about China and the US. I thought I needed to raise the flag of the EU and as a university to have very close contacts with European universities, because we have this fantastic program called Erasmus, 26 billion euros spent over 5 years on international cooperation. And if there is a cooperation in the EU, they can invite MBUST to participate and spend 20% of their budget on the. So that would be an excellent way of exchanging faculty, students, and definitely exchanging ideas and inspiration. And then later perhaps get one of these more powerful projects with money in there. But Erasmus is definitely one of the first ways to go.
We have another question.
I'm Hridaya Badrsare, work with the University Grants Commission as technical advisor for higher education reform program. And the presentation, I listened to Shiram's presentation also, and I take cue from that part. You have laid 3 aspects of this stakeholder mobilization. And he explicitly asked question to two of you, Bhanuji and Govindji. Does government understand this? I think you represent proxy to the government here. Anything that is coming up very fast in many parts of the world, they start with the government. I think Shia's presentation also highlighted that. The government, which has given a kind of support, facilitation, everything to the university. Where does this stand? Because MBUST, if it has to go forward, it needs fund and also task. Where does the task come from? Does the task come from the general market out there in the society, or does it come from the very well thought and the task and the fund and so on? This discourse is not new. It has been in talk for a long time, and I think Sangeeta Madam, she tried to bring this point also there. I would like to hear, is the government ready for that kind of collaboration, for taking the role of a key stakeholder? And also a question to the MBUST. Well, the three aspects, it's almost like a theory, like a concept. Where are we from, bring that concept into practice? Are we planning for that in a very specific way? Thank you very much.
So I think we have had enough of questions. Are we stopping here for the questions?
Yes, we can take one more question.
Okay.
And I'd like to request you all to keep a question very seconds. So thank you.
Significant challenge. Sponsor
Thank you.
I'd like to add questions from response from the online, so we need to respect that. We already have a diaspora, so I'm delighted to announce that we have a diaspora from Australia who'd be very happy to support MBUST. And we have a question from Dr. Ram, quite well known. I think he's watching live telecast. He has a question. MBUST has committed leadership, which is key for institutional development. However, will it be feasible just running few students, providing research grants from the regular budget? What are the strategies for sustainability? Are the BOTs aware with the present implementation situation? And the second question is much more interesting. Our government is not granting a student visa for the foreign students in the diplomatic mission abroad. They are facing difficulties, and how can we attract foreign students to study in Nepal? I think these two questions falls on the portfolio. Thank you, Mr. Parazuli, who is in Australia, Partha Parazuli. So I think the guest can answer the respective questions to the audience. Thank you.
With Bhanu sir, Govind sir, and then
म सुरु गरौँ होइन अरू मैले के प्रश्न पार्न खोज्छु भनेदेखि हामी यो सरकारकोबाट आएको होइन है एउटा कुरामा त्यो प्रश्न पारौँ म बिओटी मेम्बर एज ए ट्रस्टी बिओटी को बोर्ड अफ ट्रस्टी को मेम्बर हुँ त्यो मेम्बरको आधारमा म यहाँ रिप्रेजेन्टेसन गरिरहेको हो म सरकारको तर्फबाट होइन म त धेरै 60 को दशकमा सरकारबाट पूर्व निस्किसकेको मान्छे हुँ है प्रश्न पार्नु अब सबै कुरा मैले अघि एउटा कुरा के चोको थियो भने इन्टरनल र एक्सटर्नल कुरा पनि र अब धेरै कुरा अब श्रीरामजीले उहाँले पनि कभर गर्नुभएको थियो। अब फर्मल र इन्फर्मल दुईटै सम्बन्ध लिङ्केज के त्यो लिङ्केज चाहिँ मेरो चाहना त्यो कार्यरत गर्दा अहिलेसम्म पनि गरेको युनिभर्सिटीको लागि मेरो लागि अहिले गरेको र त्यो उसको लिङ्केज चाहिँ फर्मल रहेछ। त्यसको अलावा इन्फर्मल लिङ्केज पनि युनिभर्सिटी ट्रस्टिज मेम्बरहरूले गर्नु होला मेरो अपेक्षाहरू शुभेच्छा छ। कुरा मैले आफूले निर्वाह गरेका थिएँ एउटा कुरा त्यो म भन्न सक्छु। अर्को यो प्रोक्सी र मलाई मैले लाग्छ
So thank you for I am also not in the government. I was in government 8 years ago. Although my party, where I am a central committee member, and carries a government, we are partner, junior partner in the government, being the largest party. So, as I said, what is the value addition? I can tell you, like Kathmandu University, then was a VC Ramkanta Makazu came to us when I was planning commission. It was already end of the year. And he said, please visit our university. So we visited there. And he doesn't have any VIP cabin. And so everyone is having same type of food, same menu, everything. It's like a very good hospital. Very cheap, and operation charge is like 50% of private hospital, very expensive than government hospital. Then I said, I need a MRI machine. So how much it costs? It's 110 million Nepali rupees. So I health ministry budget, so they could not spend that budget. I gave him that. He got that because he sells his case and value addition. Because he's highly, I do everything, my treatment. I did my operation it's very cheap. Like they handle everyone in the same way. There are no, Mr. Ramsam Moth went there. He has also same treatment like common man. So why we need extra university dish? Why? What is the extra service this university can bring to the nation? If you, I think our Sir Rajendra Joshi is doing very hard and he's spending his own money from the pocket, I know. But to convince people to have something value addition of the university. Because when I was in planning commission, people came from different ministries. Like in Japan, they provide this % of budget to education, and this % to the health, this % budget of the judiciary, physical infrastructure, like we need to have a middle income country by, then I added it went up 157% of the, budget. So I think the resources are limited in development. Salary and cost to the politicians, and that is unlimited is there. But at least in terms of development, but there is a limited budget. But if you have some case, some sort of a totally different app, our university that is being not available in Kathmandu in Kathmandu University. And governments are not from the moon or other planet. They are also society. I think they will be liberal to allocate fund. So it needs to be.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I think I didn't get your name, but the gentleman from Europe, thank you for pointing out that Erasmus or such programs are there, which are facilitating developing countries. I think, thank you for pointing out. I'm very sure that the reason I didn't focus on Europe because time limited, and Europe is a hugely diverse place, and I had to really deep dive into specific countries. I don't have the time.
Geopolitics, more important education.
So then there's a question from young person. You have 3 questions. First one is sustainable materials and human capital. Example, we don't have any raw materials, we don't have any agriculture, we don't have any energy, including water, we don't have. all we have is actually human beings. An example of sustainable materials is 99% of the construction material in Singapore is circular economy. 99%. So that's an excellent example of how you could build a sustainable construction. There are more advanced technologies. We use like 3D prefabrication technologies. It's actually documented by United Nations. In terms of the human capital, we get the maximum out of them. And you also asked about marginalized communities. We have a very strong Skills Future program that go after that encourages all diversity of people, and there are many people who are also disadvantaged, and some get retrenched because we are a globalized economy. Many people lose the there are companies, industries, they get retrenched. They need to be upskilled and positioned for the market. So that's a very large program, Skills Future program. Our university play a big role as well. So in terms of brain drain, the way we have handled is brain drain. Essentially, you're looking at people who are already fairly successful in their own way in other countries. They're not really looking to make money. They are looking for opportunities to feel fulfilled. So that's where there had to be platforms and opportunities for them. So we have provided those opportunities in universities as well as entrepreneurial activities. So they come in and they get more, and they feel respected. They feel valued. That's very important because for them, it's like satisfaction. Not just about earning a little more money, that they could continue to do that there they are. Otherwise, they won't even go there in the first place. So as long as we understand that, I think that could be somehow strategies could be developed, which are unique to Nepal. And then
Thank you, Professor Sriram. Now I'd like to request Dr. Joshi, President of MBUST, to address. I don't think any pointed question for Dr. Sangeeta Singh. So address the questions and then conclude the session.
The questions again, because oh, okay. That's great.
good anticipation.
From Ram Harilal side. MBUST has a committed leadership which is key for institutional development. However, will it be feasible just running few students providing research grants from revenue? What are the strategies for sustainability? Are all board with present implementation strategies and situation? I think there is already board of trustee he has explained, so I do not need to explain further. The second question is, our government is not granting students in the diplomatic mission abroad. They are facing difficulties and hassles in Kathmandu. How can we attract foreign students to study in Nepal? I regret I cannot answer this question also. It is addressed to. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all the panelists. Please give our distinguished panelists member a big hand. Well, it's a wonderful session. Thank you. Okay. Now we proceed for the tea break for 15 minutes, and we'd like you all to be back here at 4:15. Thank you. Of transformation. It's time to focus on the practical levers that make visionary change possible. That's finance, talent, and global support. They are engaged mission forward and elevate it to international standard. Let us now hear from those leading the charge in these critical areas. Let us continue. Please welcome our Vice President, Mr. Padma Sundar Joshi, sir, to share MBUST's strategic approach to financial planning. Sir, floor is all yours. I would like to invite our Vice President, sir, Mr. Padma Sundar Joshi.
Oh, warm good afternoon. Everybody is gathering. So not wasting the time, let me this morning and the rest of the afternoon, we have already talked about our strategy, where we would go, what are the challenges, so much information, so much discussion on that. And now at the end, in this last session, we'll be talking about finance. And it's very easy. It's easy because we put a lot of effort on providing, identifying the direction, all those big picture, and all that big picture lies on fund. And that is so much important, but it will be very short that we need fund. Let me start. Yeah. Now, I don't need to explain what kind of university is this. Research-based university. It is a unique university that has been established, the first university with board of trustee, that model. And because of that, the university has a unique objectives, vision, if you like, if you compare to other universities. What we would like to do, as it has been discussed the whole day today, is that we want paradigm shift. We want to change the learning. That means that we need something different kind of university is needed for the human resources, for the development of the country. This is different. If the university is different, if the way of implementing the things are different, then definitely we have to see the whole structure and its resource base also in that basis. So problem-based learning approach, that is what we would like to adopt, and the research-based university. So sometimes when I go to the meeting of UGC, that all universities are equal, definitely. That's all universities are important, they are equal. And sometimes you have to consider when the country like ours, as an underdeveloped country or want to develop fast, we have to see also all are equals and some consider more equal than the others. Unfortunately, I have to say this, and that is what I have to explain in this August gathering. They do not include the cost of experiments in most of the universities with new approaches, with the vigor that the research-based university does. So universities with the research-based universities were trying to do things differently. That is why it is more expensive in a way. And the cost of investing, cost of inventing, it will be more expensive and inefficient in a way. Sometimes generalizing the universities, okay, so many students, so many teachers, and so many, this is the output. Sometimes that shows that it is inefficient, but it is more, we should not see the university, research-based universities as an, we really need to see it as an investment. So if we invest that is for the future. So if you see the per student, the cost of the expenses per rather many-fold compared to other universities. Just like student teacher ratio, I just Googled it and found that university it is 15.61, in Pokhara 17.2. Kathmandu University, there is a bit confusing. It gives the number 33.27 and Purvanchal University 27.86. Now, as a research-based university, we can't live with this. We need very small, and that is why the university definitely demands more resources. And that is what we plan. We talk all morning and afternoon about the qualitative improvement needed. Quantitative. So definitely our university is aiming towards the qualitative output rather than the quantitative. Sometimes so it's a big university, big number is important, not necessarily all the time. And here we are trying to get a qualitative improvement. And as I said earlier, the student ratio, teachers ratio will be around 10, 11. That would be the number, the ratio that will. And if you see that our sorry, it's not working. Anyway, so if you see the future, our projection is that in 30 years we'll have 1,000 students. That's our plan. And you see that more being a research-based university, will be more focusing on PhD and master courses. And I'll be talking more about the 10 years projection rather than 30 years to be relatively, to be more practical. In 10 years, we'll have 80 PhDs and 120 master's students. We are planning to have our undergrad courses will be started from this year. From this year, the next session, then we'll be having in 10 years just 600 students. So not more than 800 students is in our perspective. Okay. So for that, if you see that the number of faculties needed is 114 and the total staff will be 179. We'll definitely, as a research-based university, and we have talked so much about research, and we'll have more than 49 laboratories will be there at the end. Than 16. These are the projections, and there will be 7 research. So when we are talking about the laboratories, definitely it's a world-class laboratory that what we are aiming to, and we are trying. We are scrolling at the in the beginning, and but we have tried our best to establish our laboratory of world-class. So in this context, what would be our funding requirement? Definitely, there are 2 aspects in the funding. To 2 parts is capital cost, the infrastructures, the investment on these infrastructures, and another is the recurrent cost. When we say recurrent cost, if I disintegrate it again, that is students' financial assistance, the cost, research and development, and human resources, the major one, and other costs for maintenance, management, operation, etc. So if you see the capital cost, I definitely would like to thank the government of Nepal for investing and believing on this Madan Bhandari University of Science and Technology, where we have already received 1 billion rupees for the investment. And if you see there, the highlighted part is the part that is almost complete. Out of that 4 buildings for graduate program buildings, what we call, 3 buildings are under use, and now 1 is going to be completed in few months. That will be completed. So that part we have already completed, but we still need to build so many other buildings. Undergrad buildings, there are 4 buildings undergrad buildings. This is working. That 11, 14, 10, and 12 are the undergrad buildings. And the upper one is the heavy lab. Heavy laboratory is there. The biochemistry laboratory, bioscience laboratories are also yet to be completed. We have a students facility center, auditorium, library, etc. Those buildings are yet to be constructed. That is under the now. We are already in planning. We are in the process of planning 4 undergrad buildings, and that costs around 5 billion Nepalese rupees. And in 10 years, we need that 5 billion rupees, meaning every year we need 50 crore, 50 crores of rupees. And that is how this is the plan. And I'm pretty sure that government support is there to have these structures in place. Recurrent costs, that is more challenging to us. The students' financing assistance, as I said earlier, the development, human resource, and other costs, that in last 2 years, we have got that 11 million rupees on students' financing. And that is so important to us to make it a world-class university, to bring the students, and even they have to bother about their living cost, and we would like to not to have that in our university, but unfortunately we have to share there. For PhD students, we are covering the whole, and for the master students, we have, as Professor the President Joshi has already showed that we are sharing. Yeah, we have got a staggered distribution of the resources in master's course. For that, not only that, the cost that we are facing now, one of the important is research and development, mainly the research done in the laboratories. It's not only the cost of the students, it's not only the infrastructure, it's not only the, but the research cost itself, it differs from student to student courses, but it is also one important component in this research-based university. But that all shows that now annual almost 85 million, 85 are in year 2, but that is going to be 393 million in year 10. And this is the most part for us. And for this, normally we have seen that we really need to plead with the government to convince them that why recurrent costs also need to be covered, at least shared by the government. If we see these are the requirements. Now, if we see what is needed, what is the supply, what are the supply side? Definitely there are, we all know there are all these four sources of the fund. One is the government grant, and we have project and the research grants, some earnings maybe, and tuition fee and endowment fund. Let me take government. As I referred the meeting in, we definitely see there is a competition for this grant. There's one basket from where all the universities are getting fund, and this is the place where we really convince that thanks to our chairperson of for his kind words, as he is so much convinced. I think that will definitely help to understand our university. That is the challenges that we really need to convince the government that it's a university, that uniqueness also comes with price, and that price need to be covered, and that need to be incorporated in the policy of the nowadays there is a discussion on Umbrella Act for the universities, which we think is not a very good idea, but meaning that all the universities are same. I don't think that we have the universities like ours. So the from the policy, this need to be addressed, and these kinds of specialized university support programs should be considered in the policy, in the education, in the higher education policy of the government, and at least the minimum threshold should be guaranteed by the government. On the other side, the other source is the project and grant earning, highly competitive for the new university. There are many that are experienced, because this running, the approaching the grant is also an skill. It's not only you have got a good idea, that's not sufficient. You have to have a good skill to how to present that and how to compete it. First of all, first point is how to establish your university, to how to introduce your university is a great challenge at the beginning. But still, fortunately, we could get 6-7 grant this year, but we'll try national, international grants. But in the given international scenario, Professor Ramakrishnan has already mentioned about the global situation. These grants are going to be shrinking in the coming years. So that is again a kind of a challenge for us for resource management. But whatever grant we collect, that may cover some costs and the cost of the students. This is not going to be a big chunk of the resources for the university. And again, we had a signature with the industrial collaboration. We have got a signing ceremony today. But this industrial collaboration, again, as a developing country, industries are also not that developed, not that grown. So there, we definitely would nurture together. The university is supporting us, and we are the industries are supporting us, and we are supporting situation. So industrial collaboration is there. The support can be gained from the industries, but that is not a big amount. It will be rather limited. We are also thinking how to utilize, how to maximize the resources that we have, and we are thinking about utilizing the laboratory services, laboratories that world-class lab, and try to give a service as a service provider by the university. And of course, most of the private institutions and the universities are running mainly based on the tuition fee. And if we go on this model, then we'll be defeated in our. So, but still, there's a possibility of raising some tuition fee, at least running the undergraduate programs. So this is one of the sources for our mainly the global challenge is there. Most of the students are fleeing from the country that we discussed this morning. So it's one of the big challenge. So that means the resources are again limited. Whatsoever is the situation, we are not charging the students like mainly in the private institution, private university. That is not going to be a major, but how we are calculating the possible resources is like you see here in the table there. For the bachelor level, it is we'll have. I think I made some mistake there. And be the 90% would be the share. Yeah. I think there's a master's is 30% and PhD is 0%. I made a mistake in that table. So overall, the amount that can be generated in the 10th year would be 117 million rupees. And that is almost 30% of the overall cost of recurrent cost of that year. So it means again, we have to look for additional 70% resources at that time. And lastly, the only remaining possible area is endowment fund. We like it or not. This is for where we really need to collaborate. We will really need to work hard to raise fund. And that fund would be very much utilized. When we talk about endowment fund, which is not that in the countries like ours, and it is very difficult for new university because we are not established, we are not known, we have not built the donor. So that is another reason. And as also talked about, out of the three, one is the alumni, and which is not yet with us. Again, that is also a limitation for the new university. So even if we collect the endowment fund, that endowment fund will be, and which will be only 4 to 5% of the endowment fund can be utilized to make sustainable resources for the university. So when we talk about endowment fund, image of the university is important, and trust building is so much important. And this trust building and image building is definitely from the university side, it is our responsibility to produce with the limited resources what we can generate, what innovations are that we can generate. That is going to be helpful to create our image, and not limiting to us, definitely our friends and families, and the alumni that we talked about, diaspora, we talked other partners, stakeholders. So convincing them is one of the important tasks of the university. I think today's program is also a part of this whole image building work of the university. So until today, Professor Joshi has mentioned a little bit more, but until May 2, this is the I have that on in endowment fund we have got 7 Nepalese rupees, whereas in Everest fund we have got 33,000. That is around 4.5. So we have 121 million Nepalese rupees being collected. Now the question is, the field is not leveled for us from the resource point of view, from the funding point of view, due to students out of the country, due to the university rather different, problem-based and research-based university. The courses that we offer are very different. Sometimes it is very difficult to understand what kind of course is this, and this will be sellable in future. So because they don't have comparison with other universities or other courses, that is in a way lies on us to explain, to convince the students that these courses are important. And staffing, faculties, resources, and time required, all these that translate into cost of running the university. So I mentioned about this versatility of the subjects, areas of resource. It's very beautiful, very challenging, very interesting, but still very challenging. So the situation concludes that government should be in the front line to support the university. And it happened. The government has to be there in the front line to support the university, whether you see the 200, I don't know how many years, this century-old universities, even go to Switzerland or US, I think, and now in Israel, in Korea, in USA, where a huge amount of government investment is there. And if this university is producing something good, then the government should be convinced that the investment definitely needed. And the financing so far, what is, well, as I said, 1.8 billion for the capital cost, it's already there. And there's a government commitment is, and we have already, as Professor Joshi has already mentioned, that we have already invested 20 million of our earning to the students. So for the PhD and master students. And as per projection, we need almost 100 million and every year 38.4 million Nepalese rupees for the recurrent cost every year. So this is the challenge. So conclusion, the government is generous to provide, thanks to the government that so far the university is trying its best to be very efficiently utilize, raise endowment fund, but also the university is cautiously spending its fund to be efficiently utilized. No, to convince people that the value for money is so much important to us. And a big question to the audience is, how can you help us in this? You know, Professor, the president has already mentioned about this QR code and begging. I was thinking that my mother used to tell me while I was a young kid that study hard, otherwise you will be begging. Now I'm again begging, but begging for a good cause. So I don't feel ashamed begging this. And this is a good cause. And it's not only the amount that you feel, it is again equally important linking, making a network for the university. It is not only that money, the number matters to us, your intention, your emotion, your support matters. So please support us in the same boat to build the country, and we definitely need your support.
Uh, Thank you, Padma sir. Indeed, finance is really important. So again, once again, I would like to request kind-hearted people to donate us in our endowment fund, because you are supporting a dream of a student and a nation. And next, I would like to invite our respected trustee, Professor Sundarraj Tiwari sir, to give his speech on strategies for attracting top talent, both faculty and students. Please, sir, floor is yours.
Namaste and good afternoon. You have been listening to various issues about our Madan Bhandari University and our grand objective of trying to reach the world-class standards. But still, many points that I've been assigned to talk about, as talked about. So this is like recapitulating some of the things that have already been talked about in earlier presentations. So you'll have to bear with me. I want to look at this topic from three perspectives, in the sense that those are the stages we have gone through. I have gone through. I've been associated with this idea of this university and the preparations and a little bit of the executions that we have had so far for the last 10 years. So I'm attracting talented professors and students. I think the importance of having a good body of professors and students, that's well understood, because that's what a university is. We often talk of universities in terms of the physical facilities they have, or kind of courses or curriculum. In the old days, I think we always thought that universities are kind of the total quality of the university is expressed by curriculum, facilities, faculty, and students. We always kept the students at the last in that order. For world class, for being world class, for reaching world class, the importance of human resources and particularly of students, we have to really rethink that kind of stratification. And so I'm going to look at what some of the dream strategies we had to try a good body of teachers and students, and what we have been able to do in the last 2 years, and then what options do we have for future. So those are the 3 points that I want to cover. So let me go to my next slide. We use this. You visible. Okay, we have been looking at this, the diagram, of course. This is Mr. Salmi's diagram. We can look at the top part where we talk about our students and researchers. And this is, I mean, at least from the diagram, geometry of the diagram itself, at least one third of whatever world-class attributes we're trying will be contributed by students and teaching staff and researchers. And is this, or I thought this was another one here. So I want to talk about this first. This was the kind of dream strategies we thought we'd have to attract faculty to Madan Bhandari universities. At one point, we thought, facilities, laboratories, and framework of research. These 3 things, if we're clear about, and if we offer this clearly to the prospective faculty, that might be one way of talented ones, because they can look at these kind of resources and decide whether Madan Bhandari is a university is a right place to work or not. And I think to some extent, our strategy to offer facilities, laboratories, and framework of research is building up and has happened to some extent. But essentially, facilities and salary packages is what, if we can make them attractive, attract faculty also. So we cannot just be, I don't think ideas can attract to a great extent, but realities also have to be put in place. The abstract attractions will not be enough. And we thought able to offer packages like a house in the forest. That was one of the ideas. We thought we could offer to some, top class expatriates or diaspora or even national professors to come in and be a part of us by offering a possibility of having a house on top of the hill and looking at Mount Everest. That is a perk. But you can see we have not been able to do much with it because housing with the view of the Himalayas. These are some of the ideas because those are some of the things that we thought we could offer and that would attract very talented people. And we thought we would offer yoga enriched gymnasium as a facility, but we have not been built a gymnasium. So meditation in walnut groups was another idea. A retired professor could come up to Nepal and imagine spending his, last decades or so in a facility offered like this. And we do have walnut groups, which could be possible in our sites. But meditation, Vedic medicine, semester break treks, these were some of the ideas that we thought we would offer. Organic food, health services, strategies. As strategies, of course, these were very charming. But the reality is that we were not beyond the facilities. laboratories and framework research, which is built up. We have not been able to see the real implementation of some of these strategies. So maybe we have to rethink that. At present, I think the real I've been sitting in some of the committees who make these elections, and there I think the process has been to kind of keep the benefits at a kind of a lower negotiating level and present the attractions like earlier, say, like a zero corruption environment was the attraction, or lack of interference, a really academic internal environment. Those are the things that doesn't cost us a lot, and it's kind of an ideal environment. It's looking at the president and say, oh, so it's work under this person. So that kind of attractions is what we use. So objectivity at present, I think in terms of getting the best faculty, we are using objectivity of recruitment so that we are actually trying to get the talent and making sure that the credibility standards have been maintained. So I think next generation of applicants, faculty applicants, are going to look at some of these. How well have we adhered to our standards of how have we been respecting and honoring merit? Then these last 2 years, the recruitments have been made, and some of the recruitments will be evaluated by these prospective faculties, future faculties, and I think these are some of the criteria they look at. So we have the recruited individuals, the people who we have recruited in the last 2 years to be the criteria in which the future applicants are going to look into and decide whether to come. So how well in the past have we really respected and honored merit in research and innovation, in publication, etc. And like it becomes very important that those, the citation index, etc., that we're trying to specify as a standard, that we adhere to it, make sure that it has not been undone, so that actually the process of building credible faculty, talented faculty, keeps on going by addition to these very criteria. So we have to honor ideas and researches that have been commercialized, and this, if this has been done, I think the respective faculties are going to see more positive light. And they are also going to look at, of course, the research facilities and the laboratories that we are building, has been built, and how the current faculty has been able to do or to the research facilities so that the world-class research or world-class outcomes can be assured through those facilities. Those are some of the things that now people are going to see. Earlier we had our promises. Now I think the reality of the last 2 years is there. And this morning we heard about so many of our faculty members who have joined us. And so we could sit around. I think everyone is going to sit around and try to look in their CVs, in their performances, the reasons to come to Madan Bhandari University and make it a stronger academic and research place. And I think also trying to develop the niche areas which become kind of places for concentration of talent. So if you really succeed in kind of research areas that we have identified, we might be able to attract the best of talents in those areas just because we have concentrated, we have identified those as our niche areas. So next, what do we do is, I think publicity of whatever has been done in the last 2 years, we should not shy away from it. That is, I think, one way of attracting more talent to ourselves, to the university, Madan University, is let's tell our stories, not just to these small crowds. Go to the larger nation and our neighbors and maybe the whole world and go and say it that we have really done it. And this is what we are doing. And that's going to be an important part. So because when we tell our story, then I think we will also know what kind of program concepts we have, what kind of future markets we're looking at, or what kind of contributions towards the humanity in general we can make, we are trying to make. I earlier in the presentation it was coming out is one of the ways of catching up with the world's class standards is to be able to catch opportunities when it's happening, when the turmoil is happening. And one of the things that was talked about, the aging population. The whole world will be full of aging population. And universities will have to come up with ways of giving them a better life. And I think when we look at herbals and essence, the kind of research that we're doing in organic agriculture and other, these forest products and herbs, etc., there's a big potential for it. And maybe those are the kinds when we tell our stories, it will inspire the talents to gather up around our umbrella. So here in this slide, this is what we are proposing. So I thought that as we move on, we tell our stories, we emphasize research and innovation as important criteria for our being, that we, as a we're there with a serious objective research and making innovations so that the productive gains made by the as well as the rest of the world. So emphasizing on innovation, research and innovation is going to be important in the future. So the story has to be kind of moving forward. Industry interest, I think we have to try to arouse more interest of the industry into us. Whatever we have done a few elements, we have to be able to go beyond it. Create diversities. Sometimes when you do the research, you less people with the same kind of research interests together, which is good when you are making a startup of a laboratory, but it might be able to, it might not be able to help in its expansion. So diversity there becomes important new criteria that we can put in. And though in the morning we got the data that 1 out of the 7 we have lost last year, a faculty member to the outside world. We also have to learn to take attrition as an advantage. That someone, when he or she comes to Madan University and decides to leave and go somewhere else, I think that part also can be taken in a positive sense because one thing it allows us to recruit for someone who has similar characteristics, and also it tells us that the years spent in Madan Bhandari University had been fruitful to the faculty who had moved out. So let's not take attrition as a loss as such. It actually there might be ambassadors who can go and tell many stories about Madan Bhandari. So likewise, the same with students. So it's the same stories might have to be repeated in the case of attracting intelligent group of students also. Facilities, unique research laboratories, and tuition supports. This is what we could offer. And I think so far we have been able to offer this with all the great difficulties we went through still. The tuition support and scholarship support and facilities have been major reasons for our students coming in, the talent, the student body. Because of that, we have not been able to do the internationalization, hostel and living facility. We have now decided we wouldn't go into this so much. And the gymnasium and other things, we have not been able to offer much. So I'll quickly go through this. So from the perspective, I think students entering into the research program level, they are all, again, we are going to look at the meritocracy, how we have only admitted based on merit. So that has to be clearly explained. The scholarship is a competitive kind of a offer and also related to performance in the programs itself. So if we do that, we should be able to get the best of what is available. And scholarship and tuition waivers, I think, are a very important part because talented students to foreign universities, they offered the supports like that. And unless we also offer that, we will not be able to get them. So we're lucky so far. And we hope that more scholarship and tuition support we can give in future. Look at students, particularly people entering the doctoral and master's level, the research framework, how they fit in, what their previous research. These are the innovation of PAIL. These are some of the criteria that we have used in current selection, and that's what we have to continue using it. And let us showcase our faculty, whatever we have got so far. They are the best of the lot. And at least they are the best of what we have. So we have to try to showcase them, and because of that, we might be able to attract better students also. Often, a good faculty might attract a lot of good students, particularly because of his research areas and interests. So likewise, showcasing performance is an important thing. So like this morning presentation, particularly well when every student and kind of mentor came around and kind of tried to explain to us. So this activity has to be taken forward. And this is my last slide. What we do next is, I think this, to attract students, as our graduates go into the market, it will be very important that they are accepted. And I think Sangeeta was raising earlier about why they might not fit into the government and industries if the current policy of kind of, unidisciplinary approach, looking at, selection criteria and even job specifications, job specifications, I suppose. So those have to be removed by the government and the industry. So university has to go to these government and institutions and explain to them what we are, what we have been doing, and what we accept our graduates. Though it would be very lovely for us if all of our students become entrepreneurs, employment creators, and to the nation that what the policy makers are talking about is not just a bluff, that it has actually happened. And that will be an important way of building the confidence of the industry and the public sector on our university. And to me, I think that building up the confidence will lead to not only attraction of better faculty and better students, but also may attract real life productive problems that tackle it for the rest of the society. So this is what I wanted to say. And even for getting new students again, I think the importance of telling our story of the last 2 years, every individual, if we can make a good story out of it. And it has been an impressive story. At least it has impressed or maybe it has impressed us because we are board of trustees, but even otherwise, I think other visitors have seen how well we have been doing, and we should not shy away from talking more about it. And the more you talk about it, of course, if you have made mistakes, you also become clearer about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sudarshan Rasdiwai, for your nice presentation regarding attracting students and faculty members to MBUST and to how to. Well, now I would like to invite Dr. Samas Kasim Lakha and Professor Puskar Bajrachari to speak on mobilizing strategic resources and partnership, a cornerstone for sustainable institutional development. Well, I would like to give brief introduction on our respected presenter, Sasam Kasim. Currently, he is a chair, Board of University of Central Studies in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan. He was diplomatic representative of the Aga Khan Development Network to Kyrgyzstan. He served for 3 decades as the founding president of the Aga Khan University located in Pakistan, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and the UK. He is also former Minister of Education as well as Science and Technology of Pakistan. He was former chair Pakistan Center of Philanthropy, Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. Finally, he is also a recipient of a degree from McMaster University and Aga Khan University, high civil honors from presidents of Pakistan, France, and Kazakhstan. We are very much pleased to have him as our presenter in our university conference. Okay, sir. Please, floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Can you put
I
up
think
my
your mic is not on.
I wonder if I will be able to manipulate the slides myself. Will I be able to manipulate the slides myself?
Yes, you can share your slides. Our technician team would help you.
I need to see the slides as they come up.
So did you share slides?
Thank you. Who is going to move the slides, me or someone else?
Yeah, we will move your slides.
Who is? Hello? Hello? Could you please put up the slides?
So we have some technical rules. I would like to request you for a few minutes. We're sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, you can start now, sir. We can see you in the slides.
Who will move my slides? Do I move them or will somebody move it from there?
Our technician will move it for you, sir.
Okay. So I still don't see the slides.
So what did you say? We couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I cannot see the slides.
See, he's not seeing the slides.
I need to see it so I know at what pace we have to move. Perhaps the camera can focus on the screen and it should be okay.
Oh, camera, can you focus your camera to the screen as well? He's up.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, and I congratulate Professor Joshi and all the trustees of the university and faculty and staff for embarking on one of the most ambitious journeys that you will ever have. I say this because I have I've been the president of one of the well-known research-related universities, the Aga Khan University, which publishes 60% of all publications that emanate out of Pakistan. And I'm now the chairman of the board of the University of Central Asia, which also is a research-oriented university. So we have a lot in common, including the geography of your country and the geography of Central Asia, where we are located. So please move to the next slide. So my presentation is titled Cultivating Philanthropy, Advancing Higher Education in Nepal. The issue is, how do you encourage people to give to causes that they are not used to giving? And I'm going to concentrate on this because that's going to be one of the hardest things that you will come across. There were references by previous speakers about the challenges of convincing people to give, including the government. Doesn't matter which government it is. So my presentation will speak about resource mobilization and success of universities, who gives, creating a climate for philanthropy, and how might your university raise donor support. Next. Now, resource mobilization, we all know, is critical to success of universities. Next. even where universities are funded largely by government, 60, 70, or even more percentages, these top-class universities that we are all familiar with have one of the strongest efforts at raising money. Let's look at some examples. They need money. Next. They need more resources. Why do they need more resources? Take a look. Next. They have to create large endowments in order to support whatever educational initiatives they have, research, teaching, and so forth. Next. The largest academic endowment in the world today is that of Harvard. They do fundraising for the last 386 years, and the result is what? Next. It started in 1638 with $1,000 about being donated by John Harvard and his 329 books. And next, you will see today the university has actually, it is now $53 billion. As we speak, the billions are going up. You can see, that said, the reality is, next, yet each year Harvard's balance sheet is in the red. Please note this. And the question is why? Next. The chancellor of our university, Aga Khan University, once said to us, good universities have a genetic defect. They have a genetic defect. What is that defect? They always outstrip their resources. Why do they outstrip their resources? If they are good, they want to put up more labs, more dormitories, more faculty, and they always get into new things, innovations, and therefore they run out of money. So they have a genetic defect that they will always run out of money. Never think that you will have enough money. Next. No institution of higher education should rely solely on one source of funding, even public sector university, especially public sector universities. The government may have given us the encouragement, and they will do their best, but governments don't always have the resources to give, and when it's allocation of resources, primary and secondary education receives much greater attention from donor agencies, from governments, than tertiary education. Other priorities, defense, debt servicing. You can assume that whatever the government has told you, they'll not be able to fulfill that promise. They will do their best. I'm not suggesting they renege on their promise. It is just that their hands are tied. As a minister of education formerly, I know that there are issues. And so the best thing that can be learned right now is start raising money yourself, which is the only secure source of money. This may not come to you as a happy message, but that is a reality. Next. Then who gives money? If you look around. Well, next. Generally, all segments of population are generous. The question is, they could be individuals, corporations, alumni, faculty. The question is, how do we encourage them to give? How do we convince them to give? Let me give you a little bit more on this. Next. Why do people give? It's important to know. To uphold social and religious values. In Nepal, you have Bhiksha. People give to people who are in need. Next, your religion asks you, or, encourages you to support, and also to support causes that you care about. People care about a certain cause, climate change, or women's development, or childhood development. That's a cause I will support. That's another reason. And finally, and a very important reason is that to gain recognition from others. Some people have more interest in recognition and some less, but everybody wants to be recognized. Even God wants to be recognized as the creator of the universe. So Please remember, you got to give recognition a very important part of your fundraising effort. Next. But most people give to charity. They don't give to philanthropy. Now, you may ask me, what is the difference between charity and philanthropy? Let me explain. Next. Next. Charity, you give immediate help for quick relief, emotionally driven. It's often small donations, but the focus is on symptoms, not on causes. Philanthropy, on the other hand, aims for long-term impact, and it tackles root causes, creates lasting change. Often large sums are involved and provides ongoing support. That's the difference between philanthropy and charity. Some of the biggest giving in the world for universities is through philanthropy. You may get a scholarship or two for students for a few 100,000 or 1,000 Nepalese rupees, but the real difference will be when people start to give in philanthropy. And I promise you that Nepal is no different than most developing countries where philanthropy is not understood. Religious beliefs and social beliefs encourage us to give for charity. Our job now and your job, and the government won't help you in this unless you go to them and seek their help in encouraging philanthropy. I'll explain to you how you can do that. Next. Philanthropy is like teaching people to fish, not just giving them fish. This is the most important phrase I will leave you with today. Teach people how to fish. In other words, next, build your institutions and develop people so that they immediately do things which are going to improve the quality of life of your country. They will improve the quality of research and teach them how to fish. If you give them as charity, it won't work. It won't be lasting. Next. So philanthropy in Nepal, we know, is an emerging concept, very nice. And I'm very pleased to see that there is also a culture still developing, but there is limited awareness and engagement from the public and from the private sector. The university will have to take the initiative. The board of trustees, the president, the chairperson, they'll all have to take the initiative to explain why it is important to give philanthropy and philanthropic giving. And especially corporate philanthropy is at a nascent stage and offers a lot of opportunities. People often tell me, oh, in my country, there is very little, people don't give too much to universities. It reminds me of a story that Mr. Bata, Bata was, the shoe company. Mr. Bata sent a very good salesman or sales manager to Nigeria when Nigeria became independent. And he said, there is a big market, I'm sure, all these millions and millions of people there. There's a big market for shoes. Why don't you go there and give me an assessment? The manager went there. In about 10 days, he sent a telegram back to Mr. Bata and said, sir, the market is very small here. Nobody wears shoes. So Mr. Bata said, come right back. And he fired the guy and sent another person who went there and said, boss, the market is huge. Nobody wears shoes. There is a lot of potential for us. And as a consequence, Bata established a very big setup in Nigeria, in India, in Pakistan. I'm sure in Nepal, you are familiar with that shoe brand. Nobody wears shoes, lot of possibilities. Nobody is giving philanthropy. There is a lot of possibilities that you can approach as a research-related university. Please remember this. Next. It is essential, on the other hand, to create an enabling environment for philanthropy. Nobody just gives like that. You have to create an environment. How do we create that environment? environment. Let's move forward. First, you have to understand what is philanthropy and explain to others what is philanthropy. Philanthropy is large amounts, permanent amounts. When you talk about endowments, nobody will give through charity into endowments. They will not understand, why should I not give to the orphan or to the beggar or to the education of a child from a very poor family rather than to your university. So you have to have an explanation of that to the public, but also promotion of philanthropy requires legal and policy frameworks which encourage giving. This means there should be a lot of consultation between government, civil society, and businesses. I didn't hear in any of the presentations the mention of civil society. Please, I don't have time in my presentation to get into the way in which we can mobilize civil society, but they are the ones who will make it possible for you to generate more funds. And don't forget to get the government, business, and civil society, and the university is a part of civil society. Get them all together to understand the importance of philanthropy. Now, you may be asking, this man is now focusing on philanthropy and I'm trying to build my endowment. Well, I'm telling you that unless you go to the aquifer that has got water, no point in drilling all kinds of holes everywhere. Find out the aquifer for funding is through philanthropy, and there is plenty of people in the diaspora, in Nepal, in corporate sector who will give you. And of course, there are international agencies, but you know what has just happened to USAID? Don't rely on third parties. Indigenous philanthropy is what will get you in the long term, your 10-year plan and your 30-year plan that I was listening to. Next. Now, in Nepal, you are very fortunate that the government has approved a law which mandates 1% of profit from corporate sector to be given to for corporate social responsibility. Now, your job is, how do we make sure that that money comes to you? The law is existing, but the implementation, I have noticed, is quite weak. We need somehow the government to enforce this need, and greater corporate accountability is important to boost philanthropy. Next. Next. Let me give you the example of Pakistan. I'm speaking from a practical, actual thing that we did in Pakistan. Next. We established the Pakistan Center for Philanthropy after doing a lot of research into who gives, why they give, what they give, where they give. And this was an initiative in which the government encouraged us, civil society participated, and the corporate sector was also fully behind. So we agreed together that this is important, and once it was decided it is important, the Pakistan Center for Philanthropy was created to promote philanthropy. What is the meaning of promote philanthropy? The center facilitates the creation of an enabling and policy and administrative environment. So we research on what is enabling and what is a disenabling policy. And the policy may be there, but the administrative way in which the bureaucrats administer it may be totally opposed to the objective of that law. So that's another important thing where we got the civil servants, we got government ministers, we got corporate sector, and we got the civil society working together. All the big charitable institutions also came into the discussion. Just to give you an example, when we started in 2000, sorry. Hello? Can I have a look at my... So when we started, the total corporate giving was $2 million. Now it is $82 million every year from the corporate sector alone. And Nepal could benefit from a similar philanthropic center. Next. How might you raise money? Next. First of all, sorry, can you? So you have to align fundraising with university mission and needs. Develop your priorities. You have 50 million priorities right now. Every faculty member will tell you this is my priority. But the board of trustees and the president and the senior leadership must develop their needs and their priorities based on the university's mission as a research-driven institution. Then fundraising must be strategic, not ad hoc. You can't just go 1 year and then not do anything next year. It has to be continuous and very strategic. Define clear goals, priority areas, and timelines. And you need dedicated management team. Under the president, the president himself or herself has to go out there with a tin cup and ask for money. Why? Let me explain to you. Next. People give to people. People don't give to institutions. You will say, oh, the Madan Bhandari University of Science and Technology is a great initiative of the government or of the people. Please give to MBUST. Nobody will give. I promise you, nobody will give. They will give if, for example, the president or the chair of the board or a minister or a well-known scholar of Nepal says, I believe in this institution, please give to this institution. People give to people. Everything else is secondary. In other words, who is behind the ask for money is absolutely critical. You won't get, I have done enough fundraising in my life to raise $500–600 million from donors, private donors, corporate donors. And I can tell you that this is the critical point that you have to remember. And the money I raised was all in the developing world. It was not from America and Canada, and some of it came there, but not all of it. Okay, let's move on. Next. So, in order to find some interesting opportunities for the donor, you have to find the right quality of gift opportunities. Each donor category has a different gift opportunity. For example, if there is a multimillionaire, you can tell him to help me with building a dormitory or a laboratory, a named facility, put his or her name on it. And maybe somebody who is less able to give, but still very rich, professorships can be endowed, scholarships can be endowed, and even library books can be endowed. I remember we have done campaigns for library books at $50 a piece. So every segment of society that wants to give, develop the right quality and the right approach to their giving and to fit their pocket. Next. Now, this means that you have to involve the whole university. It includes trustees, leadership, faculty. Faculty are very important. Faculty cannot simply say, well, the fundraising department is going to do it. I'm going to just get the money. They have to be out there asking. Who asks? People give to people. Alumni and students. Now, alumni in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, they will be one of the big givers. But cultivate them from now. You can't go to them 10 years from now. They will say, where were you 10 years ago? You never even sent me a newsletter. So cultivate your alumni now. Each group can reach different donor segments. Next. 99% of fundraising is cultivation. Please remember this. This is my second adage to you. It means building relationships, understanding the donor values and their motivation to give. Only 1% is solicitation. You know, solicitation means, please give me $1 million rupees or 50,000 rupees. 99% of your time must be spent in cultivating and explaining to this potential donor why they should give to you. Why are you deserving? And only one time you go to them at the end of all of that cultivation, just like picking the fruit. You can't pick the unripe fruit. You won't be able to eat it. So you pick the fruit when it is ripe. You have to wait until the mango tree 7 years and the season comes. And at the end of that season, in the month of May, June, or July, depending on which country you are in, you can pick that mango. You can't do it in January, even if there are small mangoes on the tree. Next. Now, you need to also have not only a management team, but also committees, fundraising committees geared to alumni, to corporate sector, to foundations, to local and international supporters, and customize the message for each of them. The Nepalese millionaire living in Nepal will have one set of appeal. One living in UK will have a different set of appeal. So you have to tailor your message according to the nature of the donor. Next. Let me give you an example. When we were building the Aga Khan University, we raised money for the cement that we needed. We sold one bag of cement for $5. And each of the households, we went and 600 volunteers knocked at their door and asked for this and said, next week we are coming, please discuss it in your family and we'll come to you. And after 1 week, the same volunteers went and nobody was allowed to buy more than 20 bags of cement. That's $1,000. And most people gave 2 or 3 bags of cement. And we had thousands of donors who then gave us a total of $400,000. It's something that you don't have to worry about. $5 or even less, there's a unit, develop a unit, a book, 50 rupees or $50 or whatever it may be. That's another way of running a campaign. So I would suggest that please consider these types of campaigns. Next. Let's go forward. Stewardship and recognition of donors is critical. Acknowledge and recognize every gift, big or small. I used to acknowledge as a president of the university, anybody who gave me 1,000 rupees, I would write a personal letter because that person would be so impressed that the president wrote to me, even for my 1,000 rupees, that he or she would be encouraged next year to give me 2,000. Offer public thanks, reports on impact. Long-term engagement turns donors into lifelong supporters. Next. Now, how important is resource mobilization? Just take a little pictorial. Next. Universities' foundations are made by the soil as a metaphor. And next, the donors are the water that comes in. Next, that water creates education and research. And finally, next, it results in growth and impact. Straightforward and simple. The foundations of a university eventually are the donors who create education and research, growth and impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for a very nice presentation. Philanthropy. Okay, I would like to request our Professor Puskar, sir, if you want to add something on it. Please, sir.
I don't have any slides. I've shared some of the ideas with Dr. Sums. Plus, there has been a lot of presentation on this. So I'm going to talk only 5 bullets. And before that, 2 sentences. 5 bullets also, which already has been presented by Dr. Joshi. But my ideas are a little bit different. And secondly, one bullet, one comment, one learning in Professor Sriram's presentation. Now, there is absolutely no doubt. If you really want to develop education, is a must. For good education, you have to invest. Because working, researching, studying, putting on all the efforts, it all reflects to the financial requirement, human resource, energy requirements, integrating them to transfer into a visible, useful, and complete outcomes. So, I have seen today, Dr. Sams presented about cultivating donors and how probably philanthropy and cultivating the donors can generate the resources. Dr. Sriram suggested about the government, the alumni, and one comment is the alumni and the diaspora culture exactly is not very successful. Not only in Nepal, in many other countries also, only in a few countries successful. And let me clarify two things here. One of the reasons that promote this culture is one, taxation policy. I don't want to talk more about it because some of you may be surprised even. And why Harvard University or a lot of other universities, philanthropic funds raise so much of resources. Second, in our country, the corporate taxation policy, I'm not talking about individual, for they have no limitation. The kind of policy does not allow them to be freely generous. Because if they do, there is a chance of misappropriation and if you don't allow, corporation will be very shy in investing in these kinds of things. Because of this dichotomy, the corporate possibility of corporations are very limited. Therefore, but still the prospect has emerged because of 1% CSR, some other provisions, even under the 2059 Income Tax Act of Nepal. There is an additional reason also in Nepal. Yes, it's correct. In 1973, Nepal government nationalized, this is the within the inverted comma, I'm using it, all philanthropic educational institutes. Otherwise, philanthropy was exactly sought in Nepal. Before 1973, they were all nationalized. The result is now it is extremely difficult for the individuals to come out and put on resources for education or related things. Anyway, these are past history. We cannot repent on that. So what needs to be done? So all what Professor Joshi has alluded to. First, cross-subsidization. Now, of course, yeah, I differ from him. What he said is it probably not feasible. I still argue, say much about it, but anyway, cross-subsidization is feasible. One, foreign students to domestic students. Second, one level to another level. Third, one sector of education to another sector of education. So what I'm trying to say is all the kind of education is not of equal cost. For example, the maximum doing an MBA today is $350,000, and for a medical doctor, MBBS, bachelor level medical doctor, $2 million. Costs are different. education costs are not the same. Therefore, there may be possibility, and in the areas of science and technology that Professor Joshi, Rajendra Joshi, I mean now, has always been talking about, it is very costly. We cannot transfer all the cost. Fine. Absolutely no doubt about that. But there may be disciplines within that where cost subsidization. So I see if you include that is the one that should cost subsidize the higher levels where the researching costs, other kind of costs are much more. Secondly, then even if we should be attracting, once you can showcase, as Professor Theory said and many others have been saying it, that should encourage you to attract the foreign students. Where, for example, in UK right now, the average cost of education for all the disciplines, £10,000 for Britishers, £30,000 for foreigners. Foreigners, therefore, are cross-subsidizing the domestic students everywhere in the world. That we can do here as well, if we can showcase our performance, the last sentence of Professor Tiwari. So that is the first strategy. But that is not going to be adequate. Of course, I see the limitations as well. The second is obviously funds. And here, only some additional, Professor Sums has included some of the ideas which we have shared as well. First, domestic. Now, what I've done so far is the university team itself is engaged in raising the funds. So university team is engaged in building the university, towards the world-class university kind of thing. It is also trying to raise funds and do so many other things. Not possible. My suggestion is, let us develop a voluntary, dedicated, committed, mindful team of philanthropers and fundraisers within Nepal, give them the task. We may, the alumni, the faculty, the trustees, the entire family, wherever feasible, may join with them to have the total. So that is one way of generating the funds a little bit quicker. Of course, it is always not easy because raising the funds from the second, maybe for the international one, and this should be a continuous thing. Harvard has been doing that for 380 years, and we may also. And I'm going to give you the fund I have in mind, not what two presentations have given. And these are one. And in the international case, Everest Fund is, they are fine. But let us use the diaspora here, wherever it is possible. That is, at 30 countries, I see possibility of raising the funds. But let us give limited time only, because all the time you cannot raise the funds for one thing. For science and technology education in the nation state, let us have 1 year or 2 year time to raise the funds in significantly more countries, using the diaspora, our friends or others. So that is the second strategy. Third, obviously, the government is the most important agency, of course, but either the government should be able to completely take at least some of the purposes. I'm not saying for educating people kind of thing. Purposes may be good quality, excellent quality. People contribute in the development process of the country like that. If they can define it and finance it, fine. But the prospect is very limited. Second, the present criteria, which is only the inputs. Again, has very correctly pointed out, it is not the process, but the results we should see it. We have already known that for long. Results have to be emphasized. Personally, I have been advocating that for now 40 years. And what UGC does is all its indicators are input space, indicator space, input indicator space, number of faculty, number of course, number of programs, etc. Fine, we must have some indicators tied with the inputs, but let us include the output indicators as well, output, outcome, impact indicators as well, and gradually that way the chances of funding for those who have really become successful or proved to be capable are going to be beneficial. But again, this will be a medium-term task. Finally, what immediately I suggest is, one, government should buy the seats. Government requires some of these expertise, whatever expertise need in the area that we operate at. They could buy seats for them. And that it is not a UGC, but the Ministry of Education should do that. So the total allocated fund, which is allocated, need not be diluted. Second, there is a lot of research and other funds that they use. Looking at the capacity, lab and human resource capacity and outputs again. Gradually, they should transfer to those capable institutes, including the MBUST. Immediately feasible. And finally, of course, let's work for 5 years for putting on the illustration that we do this, and then raise international resources from projects, research, and other kinds of things. So if we adopt these 4 ways, probably immediately we can really think of transferring it every day. Otherwise, a lot of arguments we are going to take a very long period, and we don't know. We will be already in the very difficult phases and how to overcome them during that phase. Now, rightly, Dr. Param Joshi has already a requirement 40 crore per annum for the current expenses only, plus 50 crore for capital expenditure, total 90 crore. Therefore, the fund is in the short term, which is from the date of establishment to 10 years. Let's have 1 billion. In the medium term, 10 to 20, 10 billion rupees. And let's have a target of, after 30 years, rupees, which is very ambitious, 1.4% of the total resources of all financial institutions today. But after 30 years, will be different. With that, we can have done a rough calculation, finance 3,000 to 5,000 students, total partial, few hours, scholarships, research grants. So that is how probably we thank you.
Thank you, sir. And finally, now we turn to the global Nepali community. Please join me in welcoming Professor Netra Chhetri, who will spotlight the often underutilized role of the non-resident Nepali academic community in shaping our future. Netra sir, I would request the team to turn on his slides for him as well.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody there. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Great. So I really want to thank the Madan Bhandari University of Science and Technology for being in the forefront of universities that's looking for a different way of mobilizing its capital. Let me put it that way first. So in that regard, I really thank all of you for the invitation to speak on this important topic. Let me begin by acknowledging that this is not my core area of expertise. But I've come to appreciate the powerful and often underutilized role that academic communities, particularly the professorial so-called, can play in reshaping national knowledge system. So I hope somebody is moving my slides there. So I'm from Arizona State University. You can see that. Next slide, please. Why this conversation matter now? While we frame the movement of young Nepali abroad or Nepali in general abroad as a brain drain, a one-way loss of talent, but that framing can be replaced by the concept of brain circulation. The idea that knowledge, networks, and skill can move back and forth across the borders, enriching both the country of residence and the country of origin. So there is where I come from. So this shift in thinking opens up new possibilities. It means we stop lamenting the loss of talent and start designing a system that enables its return, not necessarily in the physical relocation, but through meaningful intellectual and institutional collaboration. When it comes to academics, this becomes even more vital. Let me stress that professors abroad are not just individuals with expertise. They are embedded in global system of research, funding, peer network, as well as innovation. They understand the language of global collaboration. They know how to navigate grant systems and often bring the kind of credibility that opens the door. But none of that will matter if we treat engagement as symbolic. So we must move beyond the occasional invited talk or honorary title to the real challenge. And the opportunity lies in creating durable institutional arrangement, such as joint programs, co-supervised research, collaborative curriculum development, and co-authored publications, and so on. These aren't just academic exercise. They are the building block of a stronger and more resilient national knowledge infrastructure. And in that process, we must also ask not only how they can help us, but how we can co-develop structure that benefit both sides. I believe that true collaboration is not charity. It is a shared investment in a future where Nepali science, technology, and innovations are shaped by both local insight and global connectivity. Next slide, please. So let me speak about the value of diaspora or academic community or professors. While global expertise is valuable, we must also recognize that knowledge produced in a vastly different context, often under very different social, environmental, and institutional conditions, can fall short in advancing the real complexity of Nepal's development challenges. In many cases, theories, methods, and models that emerge from global north, so-called developed countries, are simply not calibrated to our lived realities. This is where NRN professors can play a transformative role, not by parachuting in solutions, but by using their global standing and professional network to legitimize, elevate, and invest in knowledge that is generated within Nepal. Their engagement can be of help to decolonize the academic landscape, which has been wrongly colonized. As when we think about academics, we brand certain space certain geography, but we got to decolonize that, and the Nepalese professors can help as well. And they can also help push back against the assumption that valuable knowledge must come from outside. And by amplifying local voices, validating indigenous inquiry, and mentoring emerging scholars, they can also help create an environment where Nepali scientists feel empowered to trust and advance homegrown research, not as a derivatives, but as a foundational knowledge. This shift is critical if we want to build a confident, self-sustaining scientific community in Nepal. So what exactly then do NRN professors bring to the table? Well, first, I think they bring access to international knowledge systems of global debates. Second, they can act as a breeze between Nepali institutions and global universities. Third, they offer mentorship, not just to students, but to early career faculty and even senior university leaders and so on. And finally, they bring credibility as well. So in short, the academic diaspora is not just an external resources, it's a form of soft power, if I may say so. But that power is not only realized when we engage them, is only realized when we engage them intentionally, strategically, and respectfully. So next slide, please. So let me share you a couple of real world sort of models here. These are, I call, powerful example of how global academic diasporas have transformed national sectors. India is a prime example. Our next war, the IT boom was significantly accelerated by Indian engineers and entrepreneurs based in the US and UK, many of whom returned or invested in capacity building back home. The other one is Ghana. The migration of development in Africa is called MIDA program, brought diaspora doctors to train over 20,000 health workers, a scale that would have been impossible using only local resources. Chile has taken a network approach, creating global, Chile Global, they call it, which links Chilean scientists abroad with startups and innovation hubs at home. These initiatives work not because people simply wanted to give back, but because the institutions created the condition for meaningful collaboration. That's what I expect from MBUST too. Next, please. So what is not working? Let me also talk very candidly and honestly as well, and maybe with a bit of humor about what doesn't work. Because this is where even the most well-intentioned effort often derail. The first, tokenism. I know we all love a good photo op, invite a sort of an NRN professors, put them on stage, give them a kada, maybe even a plaque. Then we post Facebook, tag a few dignitaries and call it a success. But then what? No follow-up, no agenda, and certainly no ownership in this case. The engagement becomes more of a ceremonial than substantive. And frankly, everyone sees through it. Second, lack of mapping. We say we want to engage the academic community or diaspora, but we don't actually know who they are. What are their fields? Where are they based? What are they even interested in? It is likely trying to organize, it's like trying to organize a team meeting without knowing who is on the team or what time zone they are in. We need data from before we can build relationships. Third, and perhaps most problematic, is the one-way expectation, treating NRN professor like an ATM for ideas and goodwill, show up, give a talk, supervise some students, help write a grant, don't work. We rarely ask what they want, what they need to prioritize meaningfully, and how we might support their goal too. There has to be a co-created model for this. this kind of engagement doesn't fizzle, I would say. And they often, and they don't create a frustration. So they don't feel like the diaspora is used. So next slide, please. So let me then, I talked about what doesn't work, but let me talk what works. Okay? Share some experience as well. The engagement must be mutual. The most successful partnership are those where NRN professors are treated not as a temporary advisor or a nostalgic beneficiaries, but a co-investor in Nepal's knowledge future. Second, we need institutional platform. This means more than committees. It means advisory board maybe, and joint research initiatives maybe, and that have clearly an account and then accountability and continuity. So kind of clarity in all of those things upfront. Third, there need to be trust. Bureaucratic barriers, unclear policies on dual appointments, and lack of transparency in decision-making drive away potential collaborations. So we must make it easy and meaningful for them to engage. Fourth and last, the recognition matters. I heard that earlier too. Whether through formal titles, visiting appointments, or sabbaticals, or whatever, or even acknowledgements in institutional documents, people invest where they are respected. So next slide, please. So let me then focus on what Madan Bhandari University of Science and Technology can do. So they can do a meaningful engagement with the non-residential professional communities. So here I would like to offer a few practical suggestions organized into near-term and the longer-term actions. So near-term, the immediate could be establishing a standing academic diaspora councils, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a functional body with a clear mandate to advise on research strategy, curriculum development, and international partnerships. This goal is to create a regular structured space for academic input, not just one-off event. The next one is that identify and map expertise, which I already talked about. One of the simplest yet most overlooked step in building a database is the building of database of NRN academics, who they are, what they do, and what forms of collaboration they are open to. So third one, and last one is the offer a structure but flexible roles. This could include visiting or external appointment, co-supervision of graduate students, formal participation in grant proposals, and so on, which I think MBUST is doing a really, really great job. And in the long run, strategies, I suggest that we develop a co-funded collaborative initiatives, jointly design and co-invested projects in research, innovation, and capacity buildings. They can ensure mutual commitment and accountability. This could include grants, innovation labs, shared training programs, where both local and diaspora partners can have a stake. So culture, I also want to say got to foster a culture of peer collaborations. Perhaps most important is a shift in mindset. We must engage NRN professional not as donor or a guest, but as academic peer. So these actions are not about starting from scratch. They are about refining and strengthening the effort already underway, which I'm very proud about MBUST, and with some humility, coordination, and commitment to long-term thinking. In closing, my last part, let me end with a more nuanced and perhaps slightly uncomfortable truth here. It is important to remember that NRN academic community is not a homogeneous unit. It contains a wide spectrum from those who have made deep and sustained contribution to Nepal's education and research landscape, to others whose engagement have been more extractive, using Nepal as a site for grant writing or a career investment without significant reinvestment into the local knowledge system. So we have to be careful on that, because this differentiation matters. As we mobilize the diaspora, we must be thoughtful. It is not enough to reach out to anyone with a Nepali identity and a PhD. We must seek those who demonstrate a genuine commitment to the country's knowledge space, who see themselves not just as global citizens of Nepali origin, but as co-architect of Nepal's academic future. And equally, we must design institutions like MBUST that are not vulnerable to being used for loophole or lopsided gain, where the benefit flow one way. Instead, our goals should be co-creation, reciprocal, respectful, and robust partnership between non-resident and the resident scholar. The real question isn't who is abroad, but who is aligned with the transformative vision we want to see in Nepal's higher educations. So let's build those relationships carefully, strategically, and with integrity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Sethi, for a very nice presentation of yours. Now, as this transformative day to a close, we offer heartfelt thanks to all speakers, guests, collaborators, and supporters. For this, I would like to call upon our very own Professor Sanjay Nath Khair for giving vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I would like to start thanking first with our host of the sessions, Dr. Rajiv and Dr. Anupama. I was, as you see the schedule, 16:20 is the time to close all the sessions, and I am speaking 16:01 my watch. So perfectly being done without any hits. Congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Chair of the University Grant Commission, Devraj Adhikari, who graciously presided our opening session, former Minister Pokhrel, former Vice Chairman of the National Planning Commission, Dr. Govinda Pokhrel, Mr. Pratik Pradhan, who graciously came here and contributed to our sessions, giving their valuable inputs and suggestions. I would also like to thank distinguished speakers online, as well as who are present physically online from different parts of the world, and particularly Professor Siram, making 3 different presentations, participating in the discussions, in the panel discussions. So thank you. To make all these things a success today, this conference, I would like to thank Nepal Research and Education Rain, who supported us with the dedicated Zoom link and all their online presentations. U-Turn, who managed physically all these presentation things. Creative Era for managing all those posters, and Contemporary Vision for all these different displays outside. And of course, hotel management, who actively contributed everything in time and perfectly. And in MBUST, of course, in the front, we saw very few people. It's the hard work of the people behind, who have done tremendous work to make this conference a success. And last not but the least, my students and interns of MBUST, who has shown their work, what they have done, and finally, we could showcase that how MBUST is initiating its steps towards the world class. And lastly, I would like to thank our member of the Board of Trustees, all the member of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Bhanu Acharya, who chaired the inaugural session and then help us to bring the session to this conclusion. With this note, it's a long day for all of us. So I'd like to thank you all. And with the permission of the President, announce that the conference is now concluded. Thank you.
त्यो चाहिँ हामी यो सकेपछि गरौँ है. So before we conclude the whole session, we would like to share a story. It is definitely from morning to evening, I understand, but you need to bear with us 5 minutes. एउटा गाउँमा sorry for my Nepali, okay. एउटा गाउँमा चाहिँ एकजना विद्वत व्यक्ति पुग्नु भएछ, प्रोफेसर, एकदम विद्वान मान्छे. गाउँमा उहाँले प्रवचन दिनुभएछ र जाँदा जाँदै उहाँले तोरी बाँड्नु भएछ, सबैलाई एक एक मुठी तोरी बाँडेर जानुभएछ. अनि 10 वर्षपछि फेरि विद्वत व्यक्ति त्यही गाउँमा फर्केर आउनुभएछ. अनि त्यो गाउँको मान्छेहरूले चाहिँ गुरुजी एकजना आउनुभएछ, मैले तपाईँले दिनुभएको तोरी चाहिँ मैले खोपामा राखेँ, पूजा गरेँ, दैनिक पूजा गर्छु भन्नुभएछ. ओ राम्रो गर्नुभएछ भन्नुभएछ. त्यसपछि अर्को एकजना उहाँले के भन्नुभएछ भने मैले त्यो तोरी चाहिँ तकिया बनाएँ, मेरो 2टा बच्चाहरू मैले हुर्काएँ, धन्यवाद भन्नुभएछ. अनि एकजना आउनुभएछ, अलि हेर्दै इन्टरप्रेन्योर टाइपको मान्छे, बिजनेसम्यान टाइपको, होइन. गुरुजी मैले तपाईँको प्रवचन सुनेको थिएँ, म तपाईँलाई घरमा खाना खान बोलाउन चाहन्छु, सत्कार गर्छु भन्नुभएछ. अनि गुरुजीले म त्यसरी जान्न, होइन एक्चुअली आउनै पर्छ, प्रवचन सुनेको थिएँ, म तोरीको कुरा सुनाउन चाहन्छु भन्नुभएछ. अनि ल ठिकै छ, त तोरीको कुरा आएपछि त अब्लिगेसन भयो, जानै पर्यो. उहाँ चाहिँ जानुभएछ, हेर्दै घर पनि राम्रो बनाउनु भएको, उहाँकै डिसाइपल हो, चेला हो, सिक्नु भएको रहेछ. उहाँले के गर्नुभएछ भने गुरुजी मुठी तोरी रोप्नु भएछ, तोरी फेरि निक्ल्यो, बिउ निक्ल्यो, त्यो तोरी फेरि उहाँले बढाउँदै बढाउँदै लगेर 10 वर्षमा टन्न पनि पैसा पनि कमाउनु भएछ, वेलफेयर भएछ. आज बिहानदेखि बेलुकासम्म विभिन्न वर्गहरूले यहाँ तोरी बाँड्नु भएको छ. खोपीमा राख्नुहोस्, तकिया बढाउनुहोस्, ज्ञान बढाउनुहोस् यहाँहरूकै. थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच.
Okay, now I would like to invite you all for and join us for a dinner later to celebrate the first step of MBUST on its journey toward global excellence. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us till the evening.